How's it going there, folks? Welcome back to an exciting new at-home table read. Tonight, we are finishing off Return of the Thing, the Frank Darabont-produced miniseries that was going to be a true proper sequel to The Thing. The first one was a blast. I had a ton of fun seeing how creepy this one was going to go. We got a great cast for this one tonight, so let's jump right into introducing ourselves. My name's Logan. I'm going to be our action description for tonight.
Hi, I'm Anne, and I'm reprising Blackburn.
I'm Nicole. I'm be reading as Lukanov.
I'm George, and I'll be Avery again.
I'm Travis. I'm playing Pritchard again.
Yeah.
I'm Angi, and I will be Little Bear.
Again.
Hi, I'm Erik, and I will be Dale, but you have to call me Dragon.
Oh, fuck.
All right, well, away we go. Return of the Thing, Night 2, Extreme Amplification. Written by David Leslie Johnson. Act 1. Fade in, exterior, Christmas, New Mexico, night. Helicopters land outside of town, disgorging soldiers in hazmat gear. The wooden Santa Claus welcome sign rocks back and forth from a helicopter backwash. Other soldiers build roadblocks and razor wire barriers around the town. 100 yards outside of the town, soldiers direct traffic as a silver semi-truck we saw in the Night 1 roll in, headlights blazing. The mobile lab is relocating. Angle finds Blackburn and Lukanov in hazmat gear in the midst of all the activity, gazing at the town. Fires still burn.
There are over 300 people living here. No disease spreads that fast. This is Goblin 1. We've got bodies down there. Looks like a gunshot wound.
Blackburn and Lukanov exchange a look.
Paranormal does.
Interior, Little Bear's cabin, night. Gates, shotgun trained to Little Bear's back, sees a roll of duct tape and grabs it.
Turn around.
Little Bear turns, looks Gates over. Gates' orange convict jumpsuit lies crumpled on the ground.
My clothes are a little big on you.
Building. You're going to get me past these roadblocks, Kimosabe. Tap your wrists together and put some hurry up on it. Tape.
Gates tosses the duct tape to Little Bear. Little Bear catches it, looks at it for half a beat, then throws the tape roll back at Gates like a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. Whack. Gates gets smacked right between the eyes, staggering back with his eyes rolling up. Little Bear lunges, knocks the shotgun aside as it goes off. He punches Gates in the throat, hurls the shotgun away. Gates and Little Bear brutally attack each other, demolishing the tiny shack in the process. Gates reaches for Little Bear's throat, but he grabs his nausea necklace and yanks it off. Beads, berries, and buffalo teeth go skittering across the floor. Little Bear glares at him angrily, then headbutts him, freight trains him across the room, and smash. Both men go crashing right out the window. Exterior Little Bear's cabin, and hit the ground outside in a cloud of broken glass and dust, and the fight continues. Both men swapping punches and fighting dirty, beating the hell out of each other. Interior, mobile lab, office, night. As Avery faces Pritchard.
I want your letter of resignation. You're on the first chopper out of here.
It's a bad play, Pete. Just like the last play you tried, cutting me out of the loop by sending me out of here in the middle of nowhere.
You're out here because I trusted you. I needed somebody to watch my back, not put a knife in it. My mistake.
Look, a town's been wiped out here. Somebody in Homeland Security is going to take the fall for it. Damn it, we can cover each other's ass on this.
This might seem naive to you, Roger, but right now I'm more concerned about American lives than I am about how this might affect my career. I want that letter now.
Avery pointedly goes back to work. Pritchard exits. Interior, mobile lab corridor, night. As Pritchard closes the door, Weber hurries towards him, wearing rubber gloves and carrying a plastic bag. Hey, is he busy? He needs to see this.
Trust me, now is not the time.
It can't wait. He strides towards Avery's office. Pritchard thinks fast.
If it's that important, show me. I'll make sure it gets to him.
Weber takes Pritchard aside and reaches into the plastic bag. One of the pathologists found this in the lab. Weber pulls out the ripped-up hazmat suit that we saw at the end of Night 1. Pritchard gives Weber a puzzled look. Exterior base camp, night. The command tent is the nerve center of field ops of the modular base we saw in Night 1, its walls made of clear plastic. Surrounding and connected to it are dozens of additional tents and temporary shelters. We can see figures moving around inside. Inside the tent is hermetically sealed with an airlock. No hazmat suits in here. We find General Wise, Blackburn, and Lukanov are the epicenter of activity, surrounded by busy soldiers and scientists.
We've got NRO repositioning in one of their satellites over the town now. We'll have to go door to door.
You cannot send rescue teams in there. The risk of exposure is too great. This is our chance to end this. Pull everyone out now and drop the atomic bomb while you still can.
There may be people alive in there.
Doesn't matter. You've seen what happened to this town. This is nothing. What we are dealing with cannot be controlled. Instead of stopping it, you will spread it. This is exactly what it wants.
What it wants? How can it want anything? It's some kind of germ.
Sir, Angel, Banshee, and Casper teams are in position.
General Wise looks up to a bank of video monitors showing various views of the town in static-ridden night vision, some of the feeds from cameras worn by soldiers riding in Humvees.
Don't do this.
Send them in.
Exterior street, night. A helicopter roars overhead, a voice booming from the loudspeaker.
Attention! Attention! This town is now under military control. We are here to help you.
Tilt down from the helicopter as it flies past us to reveal Humvees entering the town. The first group stops and soldiers jump out. The power's out, the only light coming from the soldiers' gun lights and the glow of the fires. From a shaky handheld POV looking out a second-story window, we see the soldiers fanning out across the street. A shadowy figure slips past the window, darting across frame. Interior mobile lab conference room, night. Pritchard and Weber are staring at the ripped-up hazmat suit. Look, this suit is ruptured at the seams, like it was split open from the inside. I think Lukanov's telling the truth.
Tell nobody. That's an order. I'll brief the security the moment he's off the phone.
Interior mobile lab, ICU, night. A nurse is putting a fresh morphine drip into the unconscious plane crash survivor's IV while Sommers jots down his vital signs.
This man shouldn't even be here. He's tested negative. He should be evac to a burn unit.
He's also an eyewitness. Look, it's not our call. It's Undersecretary Pritchard's. We're only the hired help.
Exterior Christmas, street, night. The soldiers approach a fat guy lying dead on the street, dressed in a bathrobe and pajama bottoms, a huge pool of blood around his head. The ground is littered with bricks, rocks, and chunk of pavement. Lieutenant Hauser, 20s, white, looks down at him.
Jesus, I think they stoned the poor son of a bitch.
Interior command tent, night. Lukanov, Blackburn, and Wise watch monitors, seeing the body on a live helmet cam feed. A tech calls to Wise.
Sir, satellites in position. We're getting real-time thermal images.
They turn and see a large monitor displaying a green and white aerial image of the town. Numerous areas are glowing yellow and red, fires burning, the silhouette of a Black Hawk going by.
Infrared orbital recon of the whole town. It'll pick up anything that's giving off heat. Where the hell is everybody? Zoom in on Sector 1.
The image zooms until the silhouettes of the soldiers are visible.
That's Angel 1.
Blackburn's eye is drawn to a large building near the center of town. There's a white shape inside, smaller than the fires. As she watches, it seems to divide in two. She points it out.
There. Zoom us in.
The tech magnifies the two shapes. The image turns grainy and pixelated, but the smaller shape is still recognizable as a human figure. The other shape remains indistinct.
Whoever it is, they're not ours.
Have Angel 1 check it out.
Interior old courthouse stairwell, night. The door creaks open. Hauser leads the way inside. Corporal Chadwick, 20s, black, and others cover him. The foot of the stairs is blocked by overturned desks, chairs, and bookcases. Hauser picks his way through, shining his light up the dark stairwell. The wall is smeared with blood. Hauser points his gun at the next landing, shining its light on another overturned desk. Suddenly, bam! A rifle shot from behind the desk. The bullet blows a chunk out of the wall, and Hauser ducks out of sight. Interior command tent night. A flurry of confused movement on the video monitors.
We're taking hostile fire!
Interior old courthouse stairwell night. Hauser fumbles with his gun light, turning it off as...
You stay that way! I'll kill you, you hear me?
Sir, we're here to help you.
Men cringes. Another shot rings out, then another.
Base, Angel, 1-1. Please advise.
Interior command tent night.
Flashbangs only. Take them alive and mind your suits. Mind your suits.
Interior old courthouse stairwell night. Hauser gives curt hand signals. Chadwick nods, prepares. Hauser slings his M16 and takes out a grenade. On his signal, Chadwick darts out from cover and opens fire. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat. With the shooter pinned down, Hauser throws the grenade up at him. Bang. A deafening blast and a blinding light erupt from behind the desk. The soldiers race upstairs to find a man lying semi-conscious on the floor, a hunting rifle next to him. Hauser kicks it away. It's Bob Boyle, but he's a long way from the strong, confident volunteer fireman we saw yesterday. His face is gaunt, his eyes wide and haunted. Chadwick binds his wrists with zip cuffs. Interior command tent night. We can see the infrared outline of the soldiers surrounding Bob on the monitor, but there's still another shape, not far away.
Watch yourselves, Angel One. We're still packing something up right on your, or picking something up right on your position.
Interior old courthouse stairwell night. Just then, from above the soldiers, a faint hissing sound. They all look up to the ceiling, seeing a trap door. Hiss. Interior attic night. Stifling darkness. The trap door opens from below. Chadwick cautiously pokes his head through the opening and pans his gun light around, revealing Samantha Boyle and her young nephew Michael cowering in the corner. He's trying to stifle his sobs, the hissing sound they heard downstairs. Interior mobile lab office night.
3 survivors. Well, that's 3 more than we had. Thank you, General. Keep looking and keep me advised.
While Avery's talking, Pritchard enters and closes the door. His eyes go to a coat rack where Avery's suit jacket hangs with a few miscellaneous coats. Pritchard hangs his jacket over Avery's. Avery hangs up and turns to Pritchard. He eyes the file under Pritchard's hand and puts on his glasses.
Your resignation?
Pritchard offers him the folder. There's a 1-page typed letter inside. Avery reads it, growing more irritated as he goes.
Misspelled Venal.
Run a spell check.
Pritchard turns to leave, grabs his jacket from the coat rack, secretly taking Avery's as well. He covers Avery's jacket with his own, but just as he's about to leave...
Wait.
Pritchard freezes, turns towards Avery.
I considered you a friend. What made you think I would sell you out just to cover my own ass?
That's what I would have done.
Leaves. Interior mobile lab conference room night. Pritchard ducks inside, both jackets draped over his arm. He locks the door, holds Avery's jacket up. Avery's ID card is clipped to the lapel. He pulls a scalpel out of his pocket and starts tearing at the seams and cutting holes in Avery's jacket. Interior Little Bear's cabin night. We find Gates beat to hell, unconscious and hogtied. He comes to and looks around. Angle goes to Little Bear, putting his nausea necklace back together, ignoring Gates. Gates tugs at his ropes.
The knot around your neck will strangle you if you try to move.
Little Bear puts his necklace back on, gathers up his gear.
Wait, listen, man. You can't leave me like this. There's some seriously weird stuff going on here.
Skinwalker? You've seen it? A being of chaos, a monster disguised as a man or an animal. I saw it take the shape of a coyote.
Looked more like a fat donating U.S. Marshal last I saw it.
I have to kill it.
Little Bear pulls out an automatic pistol, snaps back the slide, then holsters it to his hip. Gates eyes him dubiously.
All right. I help you kill it. You let me go. What do you say?
Forget it.
Why? Because I'm a criminal?
No, because you're an asshole.
Suddenly, a knock at the door. They both freeze.
Don't answer it.
Little Bear draws his gun, goes to a window, and carefully peers out.
It's somebody I know. He's hurt.
Don't do it, man. Don't open the door.
Little Bear unbars the door and swings it open. Staggering in, pale in the moonlight and clutching a gunshot wound to his stomach is Louise from the diner. Gates takes a long look at him, eyes going wide in horror as Little Bear helps Louise towards a cot.
Son of a bitch, I knew it. I seen him in town. He's one of them. He was there. I saw him.
I saw you too, you bastard. Pendejo. That man, he's a murderer. He shot a man in cold blood. A U.S. Marshal. I watched him do it. And then he tried to kill me. He's the one who shot me, Frank.
That's crap. He's a skinwalker, man. Don't get near him.
Louise groans, collapsing on the cot. Little Bear flashes an uncertain look at Gates, then hurriedly pulls out the first aid kit, opens it, and sets it on the nightstand. He turns back to Louise.
Why didn't you get help in town?
Had to run. The whole town's gone loco. It's like a war down there.
Don't be an idiot. If somebody shot him, it's because he's one of those things.
I don't know what's going on, but I swear to you, I ain't one of them. He's a liar. He'll say anything. Frank, come on. You know me. Help me, man, or I'll die. I'm begging you.
Little Bear hesitates, crouches before him. Louise groans in agony, clutching his stomach.
Don't, man. Don't.
Shut up, convict.
Louise takes his bloody hands away from his belly, revealing a ragged bullet hole. Little Bear splashes a cloth with hydrogen peroxide, grabs a leather belt, and places it between Louise's clenched teeth.
Bite down on this. I have to wipe the blood away. Brace yourself.
He wipes the wound, clearing the blood. Louise cringes in pain. Little Bear leans in a little closer. Suddenly, inside the bullet hole, a yellow coyote's eye opens and stares up at him. Stunned, Little Bear jerks back and looks at Louise's face. Louise is staring at him, grin growing wider and wider, past human proportions, teeth distending like daggers and biting right through the thick leather belt as if it were tissue paper. Little Bear cries out, reeling back and falling on his ass. He yanks his pistol, fires a shot into Louise. Louise takes the bullet hit and begins convulsing on the cot, gagging and jerking. Little Bear scuttles back, firing bullets at him as...
I told you, get me out of this, man. Get me the hell out of this. Untie me.
Little Bear jumps to his feet, firing the last few rounds as something huge and howling and barely glimpsed rips out of Louise's skin and flails around on the bed in the darkness, knocking the table lamp to the floor. Gates screaming all the while.
Untie me, damn it. Get me loose.
Both men are stunned as the chittering thing rises, looming in the darkness. The lamp on the floor rolls back and forth, giving us fast, nightmarish glimpses of clicking mandibles, bony stalks ripping through flesh, mantis-like appendages. Little Bear reloads, grabs a hold of one of Gates' ropes, and drags his bound and suddenly choking prisoner out of the door, firing as he goes. Outside, he hauls Gates out and slams the door. Gates lies in the dust, being strangled by the rope around his neck, hearing the Louise thing howling and thrashing inside. Little Bear runs to his storage shed, kicks the door open, pulls out a big propane tank and a knife, rushes back to Gates, and uses the knife to cut him loose. Gates can suddenly breathe again, gasping air into his lungs.
I give you the sign. You open that door and duck.
Gates gives him an incredulous look, rubbing his neck, then rises and staggers to the door. Little Bear stuffs his gun into the back of his jeans and picks up the propane tank, getting ready to throw it, as Gates grabs the doorknob and suddenly, silence. The shrieking and crashing just stop. Gates and Little Bear exchange a look. We experience an abnormally long pause, both men frozen, listening. Little Bear gives a nod. Gates yanks the door open, in total homage to the 1951 Howard Hawks film. The Louise thing is standing right there, filling the doorway with a horrific shriek and flailing limbs. Gates slams the door as the thing smashes against it from the other side. The men throw themselves against the door, trying to keep the monster in. A huge bony appendage bursts through the door right next to Gates' head, splintering the wood. Another insectoid appendage crashes through the door right between them. It suddenly evolves fingers inches in front of their eyes, the appendage splitting apart into clawed human-like hands that come groping, trying to find their throats. Little Bear thinks fast and shoves the propane tank into one of the grasping hands. The hand instinctively grabs the tank and yanks it inside, right through the door. Little Bear whips out his gun, it turns and shoots through the gaping hole in the door. Kaboom! The propane tank detonates, blasting the inside of Little Bear's cabin to bits. Little Bear and Gates are blown off of their feet by the explosion, the remains of the door sailing over their head as they get slammed to the ground. After a beat, they pry their faces out of the dirt and stare at the burning cabin as debris rains down around them.
Nice friends you got.
Go to black. End of Act 1. Act 2. Fade in, exterior, Christmas, street, dawn. Military occupation. Trucks, Humvees, light tanks rumble through the dusty streets, soldiers in hazmat suits, the sound of helicopters roaring overhead. A big canvas-topped truck rolls by. In the truck, Bob, Samantha, and Michael are on a bench in the rear. 2 armed soldiers in hazmat suits sit in the back with them. The glances between Bob and Samantha are tense, the silence heavy, as exterior meeting hall dawn. The truck stops. Soldiers lower the tailgate and help them out. Bob and Samantha look around, stunned. The truck has stopped outside of an old meeting hall fronted by a hastily erected chain link fence, 10 feet tall, topped with razor wire. It looks like a prison exercise yard. Armed guards stand at the gate. Interior meeting hall dawn. Bob, Samantha, and Michael enter. The windows have been chain linked over. Folding chairs and tables have been set up along with dozens of cots. There are over a dozen locals here already, including Jamie, his wife Wendy, and Sheriff Hayes. Harold's there too, standing off by himself, a wad of chew in his mouth, spitting into an empty water bottle. They all look shell-shocked. Bob and Samantha see Jamie and Wendy and rush over.
God, you're okay. Where's Taylor?
Samantha follows Wendy's glance to where Wendy's 6-year-old son, Taylor, sits on a cot, clutching a toy dinosaur. Taylor waves to Michael. Michael gives a little wave back. Samantha gives Wendy a fierce hug, both women emotional, on the verge of tears. Bob gives Hayes a grim look.
You believe this? People in damn plastic suits. What about Sarah?
Suddenly, she's fighting back tears. Bob puts an arm around her.
Her sister was, one of those things. Tried to kill her own son. And us.
The others are shocked. Samantha puts her hand on Bob's chest and starts to cry as...
Oh my God, what's going on? What's happening to us?
Exterior, Little Bear's ranch, dawn. Panning shot of a dead sheep. Lying in heaps in the dusty pen. They've been shot and soaked with gasoline. Flies are buzzing. Angle finds Little Bear, carbine rifle slung over his shoulder, empty gas can at his feet. He tosses a highway flare. Boom! The dead sheep go up in flames, pushing black smoke into the sky. Little Bear turns, moves towards Gates, who's on his knees in the dust with his hands behind his head.
Never seen a man kill his own sheep before.
Little Bear, rifle leveled, motions for Gates to get up. Gates rises, wary, but keeping it casual.
And then burn him. Yes, sir, that's a first. Guess it's my day for him.
Little Bear steps to 2 knapsacks lying on the ground. He picks up the first one and hands it over to Gates. Gates looks inside. It's crammed with bottles of all kinds, all filled with gasoline and topped with knotted rags.
You carry that.
Guess I won't be bumming any cigarettes.
Little Bear squats, raises the flap of the second knapsack. It's filled with sticks of dynamite. Little Bear grabs the strap and rises, slings his bag over his own shoulder. Gates shrugs the backpack of Molotovs on, carefully.
How about giving me one of them guns, too, huh?
Little Bear raises a rope that's been pre-looped at one end.
How about you put your hands in the loop? This isn't democracy. I say jump, you jump.
10 speed. Gates stretches his hands forward. Little Bear snags them with the rope, pulls the loop tight, and binds the rope further. Their eyes lock.
Whatever you say, Kimasabi.
Exterior desert panorama dawn. Thump, 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 thump. A faint though growing. A tiny speck of the morning sky turns into a helicopter moving along the mountain range. It's a Black Hawk, bristling with armaments. Then we see it. A coyote fleeing across the desert. As the helicopter swoops towards it, we realize this is our version of the opening from the Carpenter movie, but on steroids. Forget the Norwegians, the high-powered rifle, and the hand grenades. This chopper is opening up with a minigun, Gatling style, and Hellfire missiles. Coyote and helicopters zigzag across the empty landscape, the Coyote darting and ducking, dodging bullets and rockets, the Black Hawk shredding the ground with bullets. The Black Hawk swings around for another pass. Brrrap. The door gunner nails the Coyote with his 50 cal, rips it to smithereens in a cloud of dust and rocks. Angle from a distance. The Black Hawk sets down. Soldiers in hazmat suits leap out, carrying a body bag and cautiously approaching the dead Coyote as the angle widens further to reveal the Coyote-Thing on the ridge in the foreground, watching them. It stands frozen, preternaturally alert, gazing with a weird focused intensity as the soldiers bag the dead animal. Interior meeting hall day. Tables have been set up, the medical hardware laid out. Blackburn and Lukanov are assisted by EIS officers in hazmat suits, not to mention a dozen heavily armored soldiers. Dozens of locals are lined up, many more than before, tense, eyeing the needles and automatic weapons. First come fingerprinting and ID bracelets, then filling out forms. Hayes is fuming, eyeing his bracelet suspiciously as they put it on him. At the end of the line, food is being served Red Cross style. Camera travels up the line. Bob, Sam, and Michael are next. Samantha takes Michael's hand as they step forward. Blackburn checks the name on his wristband and gives him a reassuring smile.
Michael, you ready to give a little bit of blood? He's scared. We all are. Well, why don't we all show these people how to do it so they won't be afraid? Then you can get something to eat. You must be starving.
Michael looks up at his aunt. She nods encouragingly, and he sits. As Blackburn ties the rubber tourniquet around his arm and prepares the collection tubes, Michael checks out her hazmat suit.
Why are you wearing that?
Well, it keeps the germs out. You're going to feel a little pinch, okay?
Michael nods shakily, and Blackburn gently slides the needle into his vein. He winces, watching as the collection tube fills up with his blood. Blackburn removes the needle.
You're a brave little boy, Michael.
Blackburn looks up, her smile disappearing as she realizes he has tears streaming down his face.
I don't want to hurt anybody. That's what happens when the germs get inside you. You turn into a monster, then you hurt people.
Samantha puts a hand to her mouth, trying to keep it together. Blackburn takes Michael's hand and looks him in the eye.
Hey, we're not going to let that happen, okay?
Outside, a truck pulls up and the tailgate drops. Another half dozen people climb out. Among them is a man, the only one whose face we don't see. He's in a red checkered shirt, boots, and baseball cap. Camera follows him as he enters the compound with the others, mingling with the general population. Inside, as we find Bob next in line, facing Lukanov.
You want my blood? You answer my questions.
If you or anyone else here expects to survive this, then you will do as we say.
Is that a threat? That sounds like a goddamn threat.
Bob's raised voice starts to draw attention. Lukanov rises.
Take it as you will.
Doctor, I don't think...
Stay out of this.
Another angle. The man in the red checked shirt is having an ID bracelet put on his wrist. We still don't see his face. A soldier hands him forms to be filled out. The unseen man moves on as the drama between Bob and Lukanov escalate in the background.
Who are you to give me orders? You're not even American. I want to talk to the man in charge. The guy with the loudspeaker. Bring him here.
Meanwhile, the man in the red checked shirt slowly walks through the room, moving freely amongst the locals as the soldiers are drawn towards the argument.
I do not answer to you, sir. You answer to me.
Angle on Bob and Lukanov. Red checked shirt drifts through the background as...
You're testing us to see if we're those things, aren't you? Well, I don't want my family locked up with a bunch of people who might not be people. You can't keep us here. We've got rights.
Your government has chosen to overlook those rights for the moment.
They can't do that.
No, read the Patriot Act.
Bob finds himself hemmed in by the tense soldiers. As a gesture from Lukanov, weapons are trained.
We can perform a blood test or an autopsy. It makes no difference to me.
Blackburn gapes at him, horrified as,
Bob, please, for God's sakes.
Bob hesitates, angry and scared, sits and rolls up his sleeve. Angle on Michael. The boy is wandering among the survivors in the meeting hall, pale and withdrawn, eating a meal off of a paper plate from a plastic fork. He wanders among the cots and finds a spot, tighter angle, and sits down right next to the unknown man in the red checked shirt, whose face we still don't see under his cap. Michael keeps eating, but pauses, realizing there's something familiar about the man's boots, his jeans, his watch, his voice.
Hey there, Mike.
Michael freezes. The man looks up and we finally see it's Dale Rafferty, his mother's boyfriend, or the guy who was Mom's boyfriend, because we know from night one that he's no longer human. Michael is frozen in terror. Dale gives him a genuine smile, but his eyes are glittering and soulless.
Look, I know you're scared, Scout. Don't be. You just have to understand things are different now. And what happened between me and your mom, well, that's nobody's business but ours. It's a little secret, right? Nobody ever needs to know.
Michael tries to pull away, but Dale takes his arm in a strong grip. Michael looks down at Dale's hand, petrified, speechless.
Right, Mike? Our little secret. You know what I can do if you make me mad, don't you? You don't want to make me mad, Mike, right?
Long beat. Their eyes locked. And then Michael rams his plastic fork deep into Dale's eye. Dale throws his head back, bellowing in pain. Reactions and panic explode around the room as Dale grabs the fork, jerks it out of his eye, and turns to Michael. We're tight, and only Michael sees tiny squid-like tentacles shoot out of Dale's ruined eye socket, then back in, flicking like a lizard's tongue. An inhuman hiss comes out of his mouth. Michael screams, jerks free of Dale's grip, trips and falls on his ass, confusion all around, as Dale starts to convulse on the cot, shaking harder and harder in what appears to be a full-blown seizure. Medical personnel come rushing over, a medic shouting.
Crash cart! We have a seizure!
Blackburn pushes her way through the crowd, stops when she sees Michael sprawled on the floor. Their eyes meet and the boy's look says it all. This is no seizure. In that moment, Blackburn chooses to believe him.
Don't touch him. Back off.
The medic turns, confused, not reacting fast enough, as, behind him, giant claws erupt from Dale as if spring-loaded and impale the medic. People scream, stampeding away, tripping over chairs and other people, as Dale-Thing rises to full height, lifting the medic over his head and whipping him around like a broken toy.
Kill it!
Soldiers open fire with their M16s. Howling, the Dale-Thing throws his head back and vomits a huge clawed tentacle straight up at the ceiling. Smash. The clawed appendage grabs an overhead beam, splintering it, and the Dale-Thing pulls itself straight up through the ceiling, taking the medic with it. It's gone. Vanished into the attic, just a big hole in the ceiling. All eyes looking up. People scattered about, terrified, in shock. Weapons poised upward, tense as hell, listening to pinpoint where the unseen Dale-Thing might be in the attic crawl space. Then, a creak. Soldiers open fire, creaks and groans and thumps from above, on the move. The soldiers track the sound, firing bursts at the ceiling. There's a lot of thrashing up there, wood groaning, beams smashing, the ceiling starting to weaken, a huge bulge forming now from the weight pressing down on it from the attic space above. Smash. Part of the ceiling gives way and a body falls through, a figure in a hazmat suit. Wham! The body hits the floor hard, scattering chairs. People rush over. The body is lying on its side, facing away from us, hazmat suit in bloody tatters. He must be dead. Or is he? He suddenly rolls towards us, stands and faces the others. It used to be the medic, and given some more time, might have been again. But right now, the face behind the fractured faceplate is changing and reforming. It howls as the soldiers drive the medic thing back with gunfire, then blast it with flamethrowers, turning it into a ball of screeching fire. Then more unearthly sounds from the crawl space above, along with crashing and groaning of a collapsing structure.
Bring the damn ceiling down.
A dozen M16s rip the ceiling to pieces, the gunfire going on, and crunch. A huge chunk of ceiling rips loose and plummets awesomely to the floor. Wham! Bringing something heavy and really pissed off with it. It's more suggested than fully seen in all the billowing plaster dust and smoke, but the glimpses we get do suggest the classic carpenter-boughten thing. A protoplasmic mass of shifting flesh from which limbs and heads of various creatures, both earthly and not, blossom like flowers blooming in time-lapse. The soldiers surround it, firing on full auto, ripping it to angry pieces in the obscuring cloud of dust and cordite smoke. Then out of the smoke comes a horrific appendage that grabs Blackburn and pulls her off her feet. She flails as the thing lifts her off the ground and pulls her towards it. Lukanov grabs hold of her hand, pulls with all his might, trying to save her.
Burn it! Burn it now!
3 flamethrowers go off at once. Whoosh! A booming detonation of flame, the thing writhing and screaming, but it still won't let Blackburn go. Chadwick sees Blackburn being drawn into the flames and fires a sustained burst from the M16, severing the appendage. Blackburn and Lukanov go flying back, landing on the floor in a sprawl as the thing keeps screaming, the soldiers keep burning, and we smash to interior command tent conference room day. We go from noisy hysteria to deep, stunned silence on the cut. We're in a glass-walled room inside the command center, separated from the larger room for privacy. We can see all the comings and goings in the op center outside, but in here is total silence. Wise, Rix, and Lukanov sit at the conference table with Avery and a few key subordinates, including a communications tech at the station. Blackburn is silent and still visibly shaken. Everybody is numb in the aftermath of the thing attack.
Mr. Secretary, the White House is prepared to put you through to the president.
What do we tell him?
But I've been saying from the start, we must exercise the nuclear option.
We still have some 300 citizens missing and unaccounted for. I'm not going to recommend we drop a nuclear bomb until they're found.
Still no sign of these missing people?
No, sir. We've torn this town apart. We've only found 49 survivors.
Nothing on the infrared?
Well, we're doing continuous satellite sweeps of the town and surrounding desert. There's nothing down here but us.
300 people can't have just vanished into thin air. Could they have gotten past our perimeter?
Absolutely not. The perimeter is inviolatable.
Blackburn finally looks up, speaking softly at first.
I don't believe you Oh, that's not. That is me. I don't believe you grasp the magnitude of what we're dealing with here. Until now, I didn't either. Not fully. The human body isn't just compromised of microorganisms. If someone has a cold when they're infected, chances are this thing won't just imitate the person. It'll imitate the cold virus too. So now it's airborne. One sneeze contains millions of bacteria, and we have to account for every one of them because a single cell is all it takes to pass the infection on.
Lukanov gives her a look of approval, surprise, and relief, and nods for her to continue. She looks to General Wise.
You say your men have bagged a dozen coyotes. Out of how many? Hundreds? And what about the fleas and the ticks that may have been infected and moved on to other animals by now? Can you account for those? All those crows, all the buzzards, all the creatures that can fly right over your precious perimeter without even being noticed.
The government men are going pale listening. Blackburn pins Avery in her gaze, intense.
What do we tell the president? Tell him survival of the human race is at stake. Test everyone. Get as many out as we can before the bomb drops. Anybody gets left behind.
Avery turns to the comm tech and nods. The comm tech puts the call through. Avery picks up the phone, waits. Pin drop silence. All eyes on him. Then,
Mr. President, Pete Avery here. We're sending you all our data, current to this moment, via secure satellite transmission. You'll be receiving it as we speak.
He nods to the comm tech, who taps a keyboard. Encrypted data begins streaming across his computer monitor as it beams directly to the White House.
Sir, I'll be blunt. Based on what we've learned, it would seem the danger is far greater than we'd estimated. We may be talking about a 100% mortality rate. No, not in this area, I mean globally. I understand your reaction. Mine was no different. We urge you in the strongest possible terms to cauterize the infection here at the source. Yes, sir, that is correct. I am declaring a flash fire in no uncertain terms. Yes, I will. I know they'll appreciate that. Thank you, sir. The president asked me to convey his deepest thanks. They are reviewing the materials we sent. We'll have a decision within half an hour.
Everybody rises, launching into motion. Lukanov looks to Blackburn.
Welcome to the fight.
Interior mobile lab staging area day. The lights here are ultraviolet, casting everything in a stark and eerie blue glow. An EIS officer in surgical scrubs enters and closes the door. As he locks it, an alarm buzzes. He turns to the control panel, sees a red warning light. Air filtration. He looks up to a vent near the ceiling, pulls over a chair, and stands on it to look inside. Something is in there. He pulls the grill off of the vent, reaches inside, and pulls out Avery's torn suit jacket, his ID tag still clipped to the lapel. Interior mobile lab private room day. A surveillance cam video plays footage of the Thing in the meeting hall, whipping the medic around in the air and then vanishing up into the ceiling. Angle widens to.
We've seen what happens when the change occurs. The victim rips through his clothing.
Angle shifts to Avery's jacket and the ripped hazmat suit laid out side by side on the conference table. Blackburn, Lukanov, and Wise are gathered around it. The mood is dark.
The hazmat suit was found in the pathology lab. We have no way of knowing whose it might be. The jacket was concealed in a vent in the clean room staging area.
Wise prods the jacket with a gloved finger, staring down at the name tag that reads Avery.
There we go. Is it possible we're just talking to him? He passed the test. We all did.
They all look to Lukanov, who's staring intently at the jacket. Interior mobile lab corridor day. Two soldiers armed with flamethrowers walk down the hall, heavy boots clanking on the metal floor. They're followed by Pritchard, General Wise, Blackburn, Lukanov, and a pair of MPs. Interior mobile lab office day. Avery is at his desk when the door opens and the soldiers enter, aiming their flamethrowers at him. General Wise and the others stand with the MPs in the doorway behind him.
Mr. Secretary, I'm afraid I have to place you under arrest and put you in isolation.
You can't be serious.
Don't listen to anything he says. It's not really him.
Avery turns towards Pritchard, gaping at him in shock as the soldiers with the flamethrowers close in.
Oh my God. Roger, what have you done?
Go to black. End of Act 2. Act 3. Fade in. The mobile lab isolation room day. A slot opens in the door. A rolling shelf travels inside, bearing a petri dish and a scalpel. Tilt up to Avery, standing in a sterile white room, completely empty except for a stainless steel chair bolted to the floor. He's staring at his own reflection in the one-way mirror.
I already took your damn test.
You need to take it again.
Avery angrily picks up the dish and the scalpel. He cuts his thumb and squeezes blood into the petri dish. Done, he rolls the shelf back through the door.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Observation room, other side of the glass. Blackburn heats a wire over a Bunsen burner. As Lukanov watches, she sticks the wire into Avery's blood. Tss. Nothing. Angle shifts to General Wise, Weber, and Pritchard. They all turn towards the observation window. Avery can be seen through the glass, pacing slowly. So it's negative. That's good news, right?
What about the torn jacket and the hazmat suit?
Sorry, I'm getting a beta. The secretary's explanation must be considered
Someone could be setting him up. Somebody infected trying to throw suspicion off themselves?
It's possible. It's also possible that the test no longer works.
An astonished silence falls.
The blood samples from the civilians have all come back clean. Every single person has passed the test. It means either been unbelievably lucky or the test is useless.
This was your test. You've seen it work.
Hundreds of times, which makes me wonder if we haven't somehow educated the organism in the same way bacteria eventually becomes resistant to antibiotics. This organism's greatest instinct is to hide, so perhaps it trained itself not to pull away from a hot needle?
Angle on Pritchard suddenly reveals Avery's face right behind him on the other side of the one-way glass. Pritchard startles. Though he can't see in, Avery seems to be staring right at him. He's lit from above, putting his eye sockets into deep shadow.
Roger, I know you're there, you lying son of a bitch. I'm taking this way past just your job. I'll see to it you spend the rest of your life in prison, so you better get them to burn me. Whoever else is in there you want motive, I fired his ass. Go ahead, Roger. Tell them where your letter of resignation is.
Pritchard, staring in at Avery, doesn't miss a beat.
In his desk top right drawer. Who's my point? Pete Avery would never have asked for my resignation. We were friends. He counted on me. I knew him better than anybody. Which is what we must have made our guest here so nervous. It had to get rid of me because it knew I'd catch on sooner or later.
Why not just attack you? Turn you into one of them?
Pritchard hesitates. He has no idea. Lukanov answers for him.
It wouldn't risk showing itself to any more than necessary. No. All it wants is to hide inside somebody long enough to get out of here. Out into the world.
Interior meeting hall day. We're in the aftermath of the Dale-Thing attack. Camera is handheld, taking us through the meeting hall in one continuous shot. Medics in hazmat gear treat injuries. Locals are traumatized and on edge, desperate, some gazing into space with thousand-yard stares, others eyeing one another with suspicion. We find Jamie and Wendy shaken and on edge. Taylor is still crying in Wendy's arms. She tries to settle him, eyes on the soldiers.
Are they going to move us? They have to move us, right? We can't stay here.
Angle passes Maureen, the pregnant woman from the firehouse in Night 1, bleeding from cuts. Medics are trying to treat her, but she's panicky, struggling, and slapping their hands away.
Wait, don't touch me.
Angle finds Bob watching with Samantha and Michael.
She's right. Anyone in here could be one of them.
Michael sees Taylor crying in Wendy's arms. He notices Taylor's toy dinosaur on the floor nearby, picks it up.
Maybe Dale Rafferty was the only one.
Yeah? Then how come they're pointing three flamethrowers at us?
Michael has gone over to Taylor's toy dinosaur, offers it to him. Taylor stops crying, reaches for it, but Wendy notices Michael and physically recoils, shielding Taylor. Jamie reacts, shoves Michael away, knocking him to the floor. Bob and Samantha react, stunned. They hurry over, Samantha helping Michael to his feet and quickly steering him away. Bob instantly in Jamie's face.
What the hell's wrong with you?
You sure you want to be talking to me?
What?
Don't think you should be in here with the rest of us, locked up with a bunch of people who might not be people?
You got a problem? You come talk to me. The boy's got nothing to do with it.
People gather, drawn towards the argument as...
The hell he doesn't. We all heard his story. What I want to know is how it got his mother and her boyfriend, but didn't get him. Explain that. You want to worry about people who might not be people. Maybe you ought to start a little closer to home.
Jamie leads Wendy and Taylor away. Bob looks back across the room at Michael, a flicker of uncertainty on his face. Exterior, Christmas street, day. A squad of soldiers in hazmat suits is on patrol. They're walking past an intersection when they hear crash. They freeze. The noise came from down the street. Their leader, Phantom 4-2, speaks quietly into his radio headset.
Base, this is Phantom 4-2. Do we have any friendlies in Sector 5? Over.
Interior Command Tent, day. A pair of military techs at the monitoring station.
Negative, Phantom 4-2.
Whoa.
Tech number 1 looks over. Tech 2 points out an infrared satellite monitor. On it, dozens of white glowing blobs are swarming inside a building half a block from Phantom 4's position.
Where the hell did they come from? Those were not there a second ago.
Phantom 4-2, be advised. We have multiple signals on satellite infrared, 3 buildings west your position.
We need General Wise in here right now.
Exterior Christmas street, day. The soldiers dart up the street, leapfrogging positions until they come to interior electronics repair store, day. They enter through a small plate glass front window as quickly and quietly as possible, communicating with hand gestures, M16s sweeping the shadows of the store. Interior command tent, day. Wise, Blackburn, and Lukanov rush in, pushing past people to the monitors. In addition to the infrared, helmet cam images from the soldiers in the store play in real time on various screens. Interior electronics repair shop, day. The place has been ransacked. Shelves are empty. Glass cabinets smashed, contents stolen, discarded parts litter the floor. A soldier glances up. Even the light fixtures are missing. The soldiers fan out, Phantom 4-2 taking the lead. He sees a length of bundled wire leading from a hole in the wall, coiled in heaps across the floor, and trailing down a long, dark hallway at the back of the store. Suddenly, zip! The length of wiring is pulled taut. Something down the hallway is reeling in at stunning speed. The soldiers watch as yard after yard of the wiring uncoils along the floor. Then, crack! The hole in the wall that the wiring is coming out of is ripped open, plaster cracking in a trail behind around the store as the wiring is ripped out of the walls and the ceiling all around them. Suddenly, the drywall explodes. Crash! And a junction box is yanked right out of the wall. Bang! It slams to the floor at the soldier's feet and just lies there. Pause. The men stare at it, stunned. Then, whatever's back there starts pulling the wires again, slowly this time, dragging the junction box towards the dark hallway in little fits, starts like a tease. They follow it, tense, rifles poised, fingers on triggers. Interior command tent, day. Blackburn, Lukanov, and the others watch 4-2's helmet cam image going ever murkier as the junction box vanishes down the dark hallway, pulled into the shadows. Interior electronics repair shop, day. 4-2 gestures for the men to hang back, spread out, and take up positions in the main room, covering him. He goes to the mouth of the dark hallway alone, eyes open, peering into the pitch-black gloom. The men behind him in the main room watch, weapons aimed, blinking sweat from their eyes. 4-2 pauses, listening. He can hear the junction box scraping along the floor somewhere in front of him. He switches on his gun light and sweeps the beam along the floor, and discovers the last yard or two of wiring dragging the junction box along the floor. As the beam of light follows it, we reveal a big damn hole in the floor. The junction box reaches the edge and tips over, falling away underground. A shocked beat, 4-2 just staring at the hole.
Phantom 4-2, we're not getting that clearly. What are you looking at?
It's a hole.
Suddenly, the floor in the main room behind him starts erupting from below, and his men start getting yanked straight down, dragged, screaming, and flailing from sight. Interior command tent, day. Blackburn and the others watch the chaotic helmet cam images in horror, a swirling jumble of shattering floorboards, bursts of panicky gunfire, a glimpse of a soldier's terrified face. One of the screens fills with static, then another, and another.
Phantom 4-2, what's happening? 4-2, respond!
The screens continue to go dark until only one remains. Interior electronics repair shop, day. 4-2 stands frozen, still in the hallway, gaping out in a stupefied terror at the main room. Camera comes around him to reveal the store is now empty. Everyone who was standing out there is gone. Big ragged holes in the floor are all that's left. 4-2 backs away down the hall in abject horror and bumps into something in the dark. He whirls around, screaming as his gun light abruptly illuminates. Sarah, Michael's mother. She's standing right there. Interior command tent day. Blackburn and the others are shocked by the startling image of this small-town mom coldly glaring at them from the monitor. Suddenly, the Sara-Thing reaches out with superhuman speed, and the feed is lost. The screen turns to static. Shock and horror at the command center, people staring at the screens. Pritchard arrives, pushing his way through to Wise.
Lost Phantom. The whole squad.
Pritchard is stunned. Behind him, a call comes in at the comm tech station, signaled by a caller ID on the screen.
General, it's the president.
Pritchard looks a bit surprised, but then he wasn't in the meeting where the nuclear option was discussed, so he wasn't expecting this call, as Wise turns to Blackburn and Lukanov.
Join me in Conference A. Bring your people. Rick's with me.
Wise leads the contingent into the glass-walled conference room. Blackburn, Lukanov, Pritchard, Weber, Sommers, and Ricks. They seal the doors, shutting out the main room. The comm-tech puts the call through on speakers and nods to Wise.
Mr. President, General Wise, I'm here with Undersecretary Pritchard, Dr. Blackburn, and our Russian advisor, Dr. Lukanov.
Where's Secretary Avery?
Sir, I regret to inform you that Secretary Avery may have been exposed. He's being held in isolation. I've assumed command or a temporary basis.
That's shocking news. I'm sorry to hear that.
Mr. President, so there's no misunderstanding. The extent of our exposure is unclear.
Why unclear?
Our medical tests have come into question. All of our prior results are null and void. As of now, we have no way of determining who's human and who's not, including Mr. Avery.
Of course, the same must be said for all of us.
We push in slowly, closing ever tighter on Lukanov as...
Mr. President, from this moment on, as individuals, you must assume we are not who we claim to be. Do not be swayed by anything any of the four of us may tell you, unless we tell you as a group in consensus. Most importantly of all, no one, including us, must be allowed to leave this quarantine zone until we find a new test. If we do.
You realize then that the decision you've asked for is one I have to make with great reluctance and a heavy heart.
It is the only decision.
I concur, Mr. President.
Pritchard is puzzled. Decision? Blackburn, Wise, and the others look up at one of the many high-tech 24-hour military time clocks throughout the facility. Lukanov follows their gaze. Pritchard's still not getting it, but his face drains of color as he hears, I'm following your recommendation on flash fire. We are setting the clocks now, starting at T. And click. A hidden sweep hand snaps around, instantly turning 10 hours of the clock red. And the clock immediately starts running 10-hour countdown. The red part will slowly vanish in an ever-diminishing pie shape. Just so there's no confusion, there's also a number readout below it, also counting down. Bomb will be flown to your location at T-minus 10 hours. Terminal flash fire will occur. You have 10 hours until detonation. I hope you can find that new test. I and everyone here will be praying for you. Good luck and Godspeed. The line goes dead. Pritchard is thunderstruck, finally and fully realizing how badly he's screwed himself.
What you have just heard is top clearance only. It does not leave this room. We are expected to survive this. We'd have to keep everybody focused. Tell everybody that the countdown indicates mission time restraining, nothing more.
Yes, sir.
They unseal the doors and exit the room, re-entering the main operations center. We go from very still to swirling activity as the camera goes handheld, following the key bits of action. It's all about momentum.
Sorry, I'm yawning. Issue a priority directive. If any members of Phantom Squad reappear, they are not to be approached or spoken to. They are to be incinerated with flamethrowers. No hesitation. Also, from now on, nobody goes anywhere alone. Everybody will be assigned a partner. See to it.
Wise sees Sergeant Dobson standing guard at the main airlock entrance. Dobson's a green beret, tough as nails.
Sergeant Dobson.
Dobson hurries over, snaps a sharp salute.
Sir!
I am assigning you to Undersecretary Pritchard, and you and he are to keep with each other in sight at all times. You will guard him with your life.
A tech named Tomkins calls to Wise from a monitoring station.
General,
Camera follows Wise and Rix to the station, where satellite still images of the desert are cycling across computer screens. Rix pulls a hard copy black and white photo from a printer, hands it to Wise. It's a high aerial view of flat, featureless desert with two tiny specks smack in the middle of the photo.
satellite made this sweep half an hour ago. We're enhancing now.
The computer is gridding the image onto the screen, bringing us closer and enhancing resolution until the specks are revealed as two human figures walking, the angle taken from directly overhead.
300 missing people, and this is the best we can do. 2 idiots trying to leave the quarantine zone. Intercept and detain. If they resist, use deadly force.
Angle on the black and white photo. We close in until the image fills the frame. Exterior desert aerial shot day. And the image comes to life, motion and color bleeding in. We're now looking at Little Bear and Gates trudging across the desert far below us, just 2 tiny specks.
Want to know something funny? Yesterday, I thought prison was the worst thing that could happen to me.
Little Bear and Gates dollying.
And then I met you.
As they walk, Little Bear is casually pulling arrows from the quiver on his back and duct taping a stick of dynamite to each, creating a quiver of high explosive arrows. Gates trudges along behind, hands still bound as they walk up a rise.
Hey, let's say we skip out on this monster business and just shoot down to Mexico. You and me.
Can't. As long as the Skinwalker lives, the world will be out of balance.
Oh, right. Yeah, world out of balance. I hate it when that happens. So
They reach the top of the rise. Gates pauses, seeing nothing but empty desert in every direction.
hey, what do you know? More desert. Couldn't have seen that coming.
Little Bear crouches to examine coyote tracks in the dirt.
Seriously, man, how long you plan on chasing this aimless son of a bitch?
Skinwalker may be many things, but he's not aimless.
He pulls a map of the area and jabs his finger at 3 places.
Here's where he started, in town. This is where I saw him tangled in the electric fence. And this is where we are now. He's moving with purpose, in a straight line.
He traces his finger along the 3 points of the coyote's path, a straight line to an area marked Tsigi Canyon.
He's heading for Tsigi Canyon. Don't know why. It's a mystical place, sacred to my people.
They hear something, a distant sound that becomes a thump thump thump. They scan the desert and see a distant helicopter coming towards them, flying low over the hard pad, kicking up dust. It's an Apache longbow attack chopper. Little Bear grabs Gates, pushes him over the rise. They slide down the far side, finding a narrow crevasse. Little Bear shoves Gates in first, then drops in after him as the Apache closes in. They're still exposed from above. Fast, Little Bear pulls a desert camo tarp from his pack, drapes it over their heads. Both men grab the fabric, securing it tight. They crouch there, frozen. The Apache suddenly right on top of them. It slowly searches along the ridge, comes around for another pass. Little Bear and Gates listen, hearts in their throats. They hold for an extended beat, then moves on. The copper dwindles. The tarp shifts and they peer out.
You know we're out here. What now, Kimasabi?
Why do you keep calling me that?
Kimasabi, you know, from the Lone Ranger?
Imosabi was the white guy.
You sure?
Yeah. Come on, Tonto.
Interior Command Tent Day. Pritchard is with Wise and Rix. Tomkins cycles through playback of Phantom Squad's helmet cam footage on various screens.
The images are chaotic, but I found a few key sections to work with. Here's the clearest one.
Cycling now on the main screen is a grainy, almost abstract image in slow-mo of a soldier falling, his M16 firing a burst at the ceiling as he drops straight down through the floor. It plays on a loop, the man being yanked from sight again and again.
That man is dragged down through the floor by something below.
Something in the basement?
I accessed the town records. That building has no basement.
There's something under this town we don't know about.
What, caverns? Old mine shafts?
Pritchard glances at the countdown clock, feeling the pressure of every moment ticking by.
Send out a request through all channels. Highest priority. Somebody has to know what's down there. We need to find out and fast.
Go to black. End of Act 3. Act 4. Fade in, Ziggy Canyon at dusk. The Coyote-Thing enters the canyon through a bottleneck pass, stops, looks at something off screen. Camera comes around and reveals an ancient Indian ruin. There's an abandoned cliff dwelling in a ledge halfway up the sheer cliff face, ablaze with the orange light of the setting sun. The Coyote-Thing is headed straight towards it. Then, a real coyote barks in the distance, the sound echoing down the canyon. The Coyote-Thing pauses, looks up towards the sound, then veers away from the ruins and heads up the canyon. Interior coyote den, dusk. A pack of coyotes occupies a rocky cave. Suddenly, one of them looks up, growling. The others turn as the Coyote-Thing stands at the mouth of their den, backlit by the setting sun. The real coyotes back away from it, teeth bared. A few start running in panicked circles, whining hysterically. The Coyote-Thing enters slowly, staring. It opens its muzzle and makes an other-earthly chittering noise. And then, its head wetly peels apart like a glistening flower. Exterior, Ziggy Canyon, dusk. Little Bear and Gates enter the same bottleneck pass, gazing up at the cliff face at the ruins. Little Bear crouches, examining the Coyote-Thing's trail.
This canyon dead ends like a cul-de-sac. This bottleneck here is the only way in or out. It has to come back this way.
So what do we do?
Little Bear looks up toward the ruins.
We take the high ground, set up an ambush.
Just then, as happened before, the sound of a lone coyote's bark drifts down the canyon. Little Bear and Gates pause, listening. And soon we hear other coyotes joining in, a whole pack of them building in intensity. Camera circles Little Bear and Gates in an eerie 360 as they listen to the sound grow ever more hair-raising. One yowling voice after another, a cacophony of crazed barking and yipping that echoes up and down the canyon.
Ambushing who?
Interior mobile lab pathology lab night. Blackburn, Lukanov, Weber, and Sommers are in germ suits, looking through microscopes, running tests. They're blinking in exhaustion, dark circles under their eyes. The airlock opens. Pritchard enters wearing a germ suit, seals the door behind him. Through the observation room window, we can see Dobson standing by.
What are you doing here?
We need to talk without my shadow listening in. Look, we're going about this backwards. I think our premise should be that Avery is not infected.
That's not what you said an hour ago.
That was before I knew there was going to drop a nuclear bomb on us.
We can't just lift the quarantine because we find it inconvenient.
Inconvenient. Hey, newsflash, our highs tomorrow are going to be 1,000,000 degrees. I'm not saying lift the quarantine. I'm saying airlift us and Avery out of this traveling carnival to a hair-wired facility that has the resources to handle this problem. CDC's got a major lab in Arizona, right? An hour by air.
We start playing games and making compromises, this organism's going to break into the general population, and that can't happen. We're just going to have to make do with the resources we have here.
So we can all die. Is that what you want? What if there's nothing wrong with the test? What if Avery's not infected? What if we're dying for nothing?
What ifs don't ever enter into this. Neither does your panicking. If you don't exit this lab, I'll notify General Wise that you have have you forcibly removed.
A beat. Seething, Pritchard exits the room. Blackburn furiously turns back to her work and promptly knocks a tray of glass test tubes to the floor. Smash. She takes a deep breath, holding back a frustrated scream.
Why don't we take a break?
Interior mobile lab break room night. Blackburn and Lukanov, now out of their germ suits, sit down to rest with styrofoam cups of coffee.
These mobile labs should have a smoking section.
I thought Americans didn't smoke anymore. I thought you all quit.
Oh, I did years ago, but if they're nuking us tomorrow, I'd sure like to have to start again. Enjoy the time I have left. What if Pritchard's right? What if nobody's infected, but we don't find a test to prove it? What if we are dying for nothing?
Lukanov reaches into his pocket and pulls out his wallet. He opens it and shows it to Blackburn. Inside is a photograph of a rosy-cheeked young boy smiling for the camera.
Misha, my grandson. His 6th birthday was 2 weeks ago. My wife, she had a lovely voice. When our children were young, she used to sing them to sleep. They would get frightened when I sang to them. So I hummed just very softly, you know.
He looks at the photo and hums Gaines Adagio by Chachurian. Blackburn smiles, surprised to see this side of him. He stops and shrugs, maybe a little embarrassed.
Creepy song. No wonder you scared them.
That's Misha's favorite. He falls asleep right away in my arm, even if my own children didn't do that. That's what I was thinking about when I shot Colonel Petrovsky in the head. I knew when I did that I would never see Misha again, that I was giving up my life to save his. Men like Pritchard will never understand what it means to give up one's life because they have nothing to live for but themselves. So if I die tomorrow, I die to do otherwise the unthinkable. Whatever happens, this is not for nothing.
Interior mobile lab office night. Pritchard in his chair, tie loose, pouring scotch into a paper cup. He looks back at Dobson, standing at attention in the doorway.
Got family, Sergeant? Wife? Kids?
Yes, sir. A 2-year-old, another one on the way. My wife's 7 months pregnant.
Good for you, Sergeant. Family's important. At the end of the day, it's all we really have. See that clock on the wall? In less than 9 hours, a B-1 bomber from Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota is going to fly over this town and drop a nuclear bomb. The quarantine will still be in effect. We all die and your children will grow up without a father.
A beat. There's a flicker of shock on Dobson's face.
Why are you telling me this, sir?
Because it doesn't have to be that way.
Interior command tent night. Tech number 2 calls to Wise from a monitor station.
General, we have contact on infrared. Came out of nowhere.
Ghost 5-1, we have potential hostile activity. Your sector.
5-1 confirming that. Request support.
Exterior street night. Human figures are darting in the shadows, barely glimpsed. 2 Humvees screech to a stop at the end of the street, spotlights glaring, briefly catching one of the figures as they dart away. A squad of soldiers, Ghost 5, pours from the vehicles and pursues on foot, weapons locked and loaded.
Freeze! Surrender or we will open fire!
The soldiers chase the figures down a narrow alley and into a dark street lined with parked cars. The fleeing figures are swarming like fast rats playing hide-and-go-seek. The soldiers fan out, shining their flashlights or their gun lights along the parked cars, only to find rows of stripped and empty chassis. Hoods are gone, engine bays empty, dashboard consoles missing.
Base? Are you seeing this?
Interior command tent night. The stripped and ravaged cars appear on the helmet cam feeds.
Never mind cars, Ghost 5. You have movement and infrared all around you.
Exterior street night. Suddenly, the human figures break cover, running away. The soldiers converge and open fire. One of the fleeing figures stops and looks at the soldiers as they close in. It's Ginnie, the angelic little girl from Night 1. Her face and nightgown are smeared with grease, and she's holding a 300-pound engine block as if it weighed nothing. The soldiers hesitate, shocked, shining their gun lights in her face.
Please don't tell on me.
Interior command tent night. Suddenly, white shapes start popping up on the satellite image behind Ghost 5.
Ghost 5, new contacts on infrared at your 6.
Exterior street, night. The soldiers spin, guns poised as dark figures emerge from the shadows, walking towards them.
Who goes there? Halt or we'll shoot!
Just then, a Black Hawk helicopter appears overhead, spotlight shining down, silhouetting the dark figures approaching them. The soldiers breathe a huge sigh of relief because it's another squad of soldiers. Their silhouettes unmistakable, germ suits, M16s moving towards them.
Hold your fire! It's our backup.
Just then, the Black Hawk sweeps overhead, spotlight shifting and suddenly illuminating the new men from the front. It's the missing Phantom Squad, hazmat suits hanging off of them in tatters, moving towards the other soldiers like zombies. Interior command tent, night. Everyone's breath catches in their throats as they see the soldier things on the helmet cam feeds. Exterior street, night.
Oh my god, it's Phantom! Fire! Fire!
But the things are already raising their M16s and opening fire. 5-1 is shot in the head mid-sentence. The human soldiers are starting to get shot to pieces in the street, trying to return fire and fall back, bullets ripping through their hazmat suits. Ginnie vanishes down a spider hole with the car engine on her shoulder and the echo of childish laughter. Interior meeting hall, night. The room is dark, and the locals huddled in groups, wide-eyed, listening to the sound of the nearby gun battle. Samantha sits with Michael on a cot, cradling him in her arms and stroking his head. Bob sits with Hayes, watching them.
It's falling apart out there.
Didn't take long, did it?
Situation's about to pop in here too. You know, there's talk about your nephew, about Michael.
Hayes eyes him, awaiting a response.
God help me. What if they're right? What if he is one of them?
We can't start doing this, Bob. We turn on one another against our own families. Well, that's it, isn't it? We're finished. If I were you, I'd be thinking about how to get him the hell out of here.
Across the room, Jamie, Wendy, Harold, and Maureen are huddled together, eyes on Michael, conferring in urgent whispers, scared, desperate.
What if we're wrong about him?
I'd rather be wrong and do something than be right and do nothing. Damn straight. Want us to wait until he turns? Call the army for help? Listen to him out there. We're on our own.
Jamie shoots another dark look across the room at Michael. Exterior, desert, Tiki Canyon, cliff ruins, night. Moonrise in the desert, a huge blood-red full moon. Tilt down to the cave dwellers' ruins. We find Little Bear and Gates lying on the lip of the cliff and gazing down at the bottleneck pass below. We hear a brief electronic whine as Little Bear switches his night vision goggles on.
So, what's so mystical about this place?
The ancient people lived in these cliff dwellings over 1,200 years ago, even before the Navajo came.
Huh. And that stuff would be the world out of balance? That a Navajo thing too?
Yeah. See, everything's connected. Something bad happens, it's because someone has upset the Hosho, the balance of all things. That's what the Skinwalker did. And you and I were put here to restore that balance and make things right again.
What, like fate? That's why you dragged my ass out here? You're the hero and I was destined to help you?
Maybe. Or maybe I'm destined to help you.
You hear something stir in the canyon below. Little Bear snaps his night vision goggle lenses down and peers over the cliff. Night vision POV. The canyon glows an eerie green. Suddenly, something moves. The coyote is coming back down the canyon, winding its way along the rocks towards the bottleneck. Little Bear gestures to Gates to be still, pulls a Bowie knife from his boot, slices the ropes binding Gates' hands. As Gates rubs his wrist, Little Bear pulls out an old Zippo lighter and hands it to him. Gates glances down at the Zippo, notices the words Army Rangers, Gulf War, 1991, engraved on it. Little Bear pulls one of his dynamite arrows, strings it to his bow, and tensely waits for the coyote to come into range. Night vision POV. The coyote's getting closer, sometimes lost behind the rocks, then reappearing again, weaving in and out. Little Bear draws tension on the bow and gives Gates a nod. Gates lights the Zippo, brings the flame down to the dynamite fuse. It ignites, sputtering towards the dynamite with unnerving speed. Gates watches the fuse burning down inches in front of his face, eyes slowly widening.
Say, man, that fuse ain't that long, you know? You gotta shoot it or what?
Little Bear holds and holds, drawing a bead, a few more endless moments of tension, then twang, lets the arrow fly. It arcs through the night, fuse sputtering, and thunk. It lands solidly into the coyote's side and instantly goes boom. The creature is blown to smithereens, raining rocks and coyote fragments everywhere.
Let's go burn the pieces.
Gates leaps up, stunned and rejoicing, grabs the night vision goggles and puts them on.
Whoa. Holy hell, man. What a shot. I saw it and I still can't believe it.
Gates suddenly stops, seeing night vision POV panning to reveal another coyote darting out from behind the same rock, followed by 3 more. The creatures sail past the spot where the first coyote exploded, charging up the hill towards us.
Oh, crap.
He hands the goggles back to Little Bear, who puts them on and sees the coyotes.
Are those real coyotes?
Well, real coyotes run away from people. So no.
Gates snatches up a Molotov bottle, lights the rag, tosses the Zippo to Little Bear. Little Bear catches it, notches a dynamite arrow, and gets ready to light the fuse.
Wait till I give the word.
Gates pauses, a look of, the hell am I doing, spreading across his face as it occurs to him he's got a Molotov cocktail and the upper hand.
Listen, on second thought, I think I'm gonna put on my buggy shoes and let you handle this.
Don't do this, man. Not now.
Oh, right, that balance thing. Hey, no offense. I got better things to do than kill the coyote with Chief Loss's marbles.
Staring him down, Little Bear flicks the Zippo and lights the dynamite fuse. Gates tenses, both men glaring. Little Bear raises the arrow, fuse sputtering, aims it directly at Gates. Gates draws his arm back, ready to throw the Molotov.
Don't make me burn you.
Don't make me blow you up.
Suddenly, a white light blazes up behind them. It's an Apache helicopter, searchlight pinning Gates and Little Bear. A voice booms over the loudspeaker.
Put your weapons down. This is your only warning. We will open fire.
Gates and Little Bear exchange a look. The fuse is almost gone. Not only that, the coyotes are yipping ever closer, moments away.
We are so screwed.
Yeah.
They both turn, letting the arrow and Molotov fly at the same moment, right at the coyotes scrambling up over the lip of the cliff, and wha-boom! A double explosion sends a fireball skyward. Gates and Little Bear are blown off their feet, slamming to the ground. They look up just in time to see the one surviving coyote glaring at them. Then it zips by and vanishes into the cliff dwelling. Interior Apache night. The pilot veers, reacting to the explosion as exterior cliff ruins night. The gunner opens up, blazing away with Gatling guns. Bzzz, zap. Little Bear snags their gear. Gates reaches over to the knapsack full of Molotovs, but Little Bear grabs him, dragging him to the ruins as bullets chew towards them. The abandoned knapsack takes a hit behind them and explodes, just as Little Bear and Gates dive inside the cliff ruins, ducking out of the way as the fireball fills the entrance. The Apache hovers right outside, ripping the place apart with its machine guns. Little Bear and Gates run through the cavern, passing one entrance after another. Outside, the Apache crabs sideways, tracking them with its guns, blasting the cavern entrances and the rock walls around them to smithereens, filling the air with whizzing bullets, flying shrapnel, clouds of dust. Then, whoosh! The Apache fires its 70mm rockets. Little Bear and Gates run like hell as the rockets streak in through one of the entrances and explode on the opposite wall of the cavern, causing a cave-in. The floor collapses and crash. Little Bear and Gates ride a landslide of boulders and debris, falling into a cavern underneath the ruins. A huge cloud of dust swallows everything. For a moment, all is darkness. Beat. Beat. Then Little Bear lights a Zippo. The tiny flame reveals Gates. They're beaten and bloody, covered with rocks and dust, but alive. They dig themselves out and stagger to their feet. Little Bear finds his backpack and grabs it. They pull flashlights, aiming the beams upward. Hundreds of tons of rock have fallen, trapping them down here. Pebbles and larger chunks come clattering down.
Where the hell are we?
In the caverns under the cliff dwellings. This mountain is honeycombed with caves.
Well, that one coyote got past us. He's down here too. Well, good news is the son of a bitch is squished for sure. Because I tell you what, Kimosabe, there ain't no other way out of here.
Little Bear pauses, shining his light past Gates. Seeing the look on his face, Gates turns and sees it too. The mouth of a steel tunnel is set into the cavern wall, covered with steel rebar to prevent entry, but one section has been ripped and bent aside, big enough for a man to get through. Or a coyote. Their flashlight beams drift up to the faded sign above the tunnel, which reads, Vent Number 3. Exterior street night. A squadron of soldiers, Banshee 1, advances down the street on foot, locked and loaded, tensely shining spotlights around.
Banshee 1, you're still clear. Any sign of Ghost 5? Over.
Negative base, just their rides or what's left of them.
Camera pans to reveal the 2 Humvees that Ghost 5 arrived in, eerily lit by the spotlights. The Humvees have been stripped down to their chassis. Plating gone, engines missing, wires dangling. Interior command tent night. General Wise and Colonel Ricks see the Humvees on Banshee's helmet cam feed. Ricks gives Wise an incredulous look.
2 Humvees dismantled in less than 10 minutes. What could do that?
Not just dismantled, stripped for parts. First that electronics shop, now this. They come up, grab what they want, then they disappear again. These are goddamn raids.
What in God's name can they be doing down there?
Tomkins, do we have any idea what's under this town yet? Tomkins!
Sir, the Department of Interior can't find anything in their records. We tried the U.S. Geological Survey, State Land Office, Bureau of Mines. This whole area comes up blank. It doesn't exist.
Wise gives him a look, realization dawning.
Asshole.
Try the Pentagon database.
Time cut. Wise and Ricks are staring at a map of the United States on screen. Department of Defense base locations. Tomkins taps the keyboard, zooms in on New Mexico. The area around the town is highlighted in red, and a flashing banner pops up. Classified. Access denied. Angle on Wise, pushing in as he turns.
We need immediate access to this. Get me the president on the line.
Go to black. End of Act 4. Act 5. Fade in, interior pathology lab, non-germ suit area, night. Blackburn, Lukanov, Weber, and Sommers are seated around the room, exhausted and on their last nerve. Numerous colorful medical imaging displays, the results of their testing, are playing on a dozen plasma screens.
So that's it. Avery's blood is identical to human blood in every way we know to test.
We are talking about a perfect imitation. Believe me, I studied it for years. We haven't found a flaw because there's not one to find.
We better find one. We've got 5 hours.
It's a shame we don't have Mr. McReady with us. The American in the Antarctic who invented the hot wire test. We tend to look for the most complex solution to a problem. A man like McReady looks for the simplest. There's often genius in that.
Okay, so what would McReady do? Look for something behavioral, an involuntary reflex, like sticking a hot wire into blood and seeing if it jumps.
Too bad we don't have a subject we know is infected to work with.
What about witnesses? The townspeople. If this is an involved strain, maybe they saw some sort of behavior.
I've read the debriefing transcripts. They were too busy panicking and hiding to notice much of anything.
There's one witness we haven't heard from. Off their looks, we go to Interior Mobile Lab ICU night. Blackburn, Lukanov, Weber, and Sommers look through the observation room at the unconscious plane crash survivor. Yeah, he was there when this whole mess started. I say wake him up.
It could kill him.
Assuming he is human and what he tells us can be trusted. If there's the slightest chance he knows anything, we have to take it.
Interior man-made tunnel night. Little Bear and Gates are making their way down the dark tunnel, footsteps creating eerie echoes. Little Bear has a dynamite arrow strung on his bow. Gates is now armed with a rifle. The shaft ends up ahead, opening into a gloomy chamber beyond. They edge towards it as their flashlight beams find a sign on the wall covered in dirt. A few letters are visible. Lono. Gates wipes the sign clean with his sleeve, revealing Silo number 3. They peer out of the tunnel, sweeping flashlights up and around the enormous rust-streaked cylindrical chamber some 60 feet in diameter and 10 stories high, the roof of which is a massive steel door. Camera pulls back, revealing it's an abandoned nuclear missile silo. The missile is long since gone, but the rusted gantries, access ladders, and catwalk still crisscross the space. Interior command tent night. Wise and Ricks lead up a military briefing. A large video wall displays a computer-generated map of the town and surrounding area. Ricks points out as an overlay appears, showing a system of silos, tunnels, and bunkers deep beneath the earth, with some tunnels running underneath the town.
We just learned that we're sitting on top of an old Cold War nuclear missile base. It was decommissioned in 1963, but its existence is still classified. Note that some of the silo access tunnels run right under the town.
This is where we'll find all 300 missing civilians. The bad news is we can assume they're no longer human. The worst news is they're involved in some organized effort and we do not know what it is. We're gonna have to find out.
Major Cruz, Special Forces, speaks up.
Do we know where in the facility they are? It could take days to find them down there.
We have 4.5 more hours.
Exterior helipad night. Pritchard and Dobson drive up in a Humvee. The 2 Blackhawks and an Apache sit on the hard pad, surrounded by razor wire barriers. 3 soldiers stand guard. Everyone's in germ suits. Pritchard eyes the guards anxiously.
Let me handle this.
Pritchard gets out of the Humvee and approaches the guards. Dobson follows, carrying a canvas bag. The guards step forward, and Pritchard puts on his most authoritative voice.
At ease, gentlemen.
Suddenly, behind him, Dobson whips a silenced pistol out of the bag and shoots each of the guards dead in rapid succession. Pritchard stands frozen in dumb horror. Dobson doesn't miss a beat and starts dragging one of the dead guards out of sight. Interior Mobile Lab ICU night. The plane crash survivor lies unconscious. Blackburn and Lukanov stand over him. Weber and Sommers hang back. All are in hazmat suits. Blackburn inserts a syringe into the IV tube and presses the plunger. The heartbeat monitor begins to beat more rapidly. Then the survivor's eyes open, and he gives a ragged gasp.
Try to relax. You're in the hospital. We're doctors.
His eyes focus on her. Every breath he takes a new agony.
I'll give you something for the pain, but I have to ask you some questions first. Can you try to answer them?
There was something on the plane.
Lukanov shows him a photo of Vitsenko, the Chechen rebel.
This man?
The survivor's eyes widen as interior Boeing 767 night flashback. We're back on the plane before the crash. The survivor sits listening to the captain across the cabin. Before he was burned so badly, the survivor was a heavy, balding man in his 40s. Suddenly, a few rows ahead, staggers into the aisle, Ivan Vitsenko.
Sir, are you all right?
Vitsenko grabs his chest and collapses into the aisle. Interior Mobile Lab ICU night.
He was having a heart attack?
I tried to save him.
Interior Boeing 767 night flashback. Handheld camera follows the survivor to Vitsenko lying in the aisle as the flight attendants ready a defibrillator.
Clear.
The survivor turns, camera swish panning to follow as he looks, finds flight attendant 3 talking on the interphone. Captain, we got a problem back here. In the aisle, the defibrillator recharges. Beep, beep, beep. The survivor hears it, turns back, camera swish pans to.
Clear.
She lowers the pads again, then suddenly screams. Flight attendant 2 staggers back, splattered with blood. An unearthly chittering fills the cabin, and the passengers are screaming, but the survivor still can't see what's going on. Then a dark shape rises from the aisle. Passengers stampede towards the back of the plane, some crawling right over their seats. The survivor suddenly finds himself staring at a hideous mass of boiling flesh and tearing clothes. Part Ivan Vitsenko, part hapless flight attendant, part things unknown. It screams at him, its voice becoming a strangely mechanical, high-pitched whine. Interior, mobile lab, ICU, night. And we realize the whine is the survivor's heart monitor. Blackburn and Lukanov quickly look at it. Flatline.
Damn it.
Weber and Sommers swing the crash cart into place, and Blackburn grabs the paddles. The defibrillator charges up.
Clear.
Zap! The survivor's body bucks on the bed. The heart rate monitor spikes, then goes flat again.
Go again.
The defibrillator whines, recharging as, pushing on Lukanov, staring at the paddles, listening to the whine, realization dawning in his eyes. Off of his look, we flash back to the moment in the Carpenter film when Copper applies the defibrillator paddles to Norris's chest, and the chest opens up, becoming a huge mouth lined with teeth and bites Copper's arms off. As Copper reels back and screams, we end flashback. Weber grabs the paddles from Blackburn, taking over. Lukanov watches, his mind and words racing.
They used the defibrillator on the plane. Also in the Antarctic. And that local man saw the coyote tangled in the electric fence. All 3 times the creature appeared.
So you're saying electricity triggers it somehow, forces it to reveal itself.
Basic biology. The body is operated by electrical impulses, brains, muscles, nervous system. Everything is a body is subjected to. Oh, everything is electrical impulses. What happens when a body is subjected to a powerful enough electrical shock?
Those impulses get scrambled and the body loses control of all physical functions voluntarily.
And involuntary, yes. There's your reflex reaction. McCready would like it.
So all we have to do is shock somebody with electricity, and he pauses, takes a nervous step back, the defib paddles in his hands poised over the burn victim. They all suddenly realize how vulnerable they'd have been if the man had been a thing. Sommers turns the heart monitor off. The whine stops.
So he was human. Yes, and he may have just saved us all.
Interior, Blackhawk on Helipad, night. A pilot and co-pilot in hazmat gear climb aboard the Blackhawk and start buckling in. Suddenly, a hand holding a gun appears from the darkness behind them and presses it against the pilot's neck.
Play cool, and you'll both live.
Angle shifts to Dobson and Pritchard behind them, already in the helicopter, obscured in shadow.
You're flying us out of here. Stay low and fast under the radar.
At the guard gate, a Humvee pulls up to the unmanned guard station. 4 soldiers get out to investigate. One of them stops short, shining his gun light at something off screen.
Oh, Jesus.
The others hurry over to see the bodies of the dead guards hidden behind some barrels. Suddenly, a loud whine fills the night. The rotors of one of the Blackhawks are starting to turn. In the Blackhawk, the pilots prep for takeoff. Suddenly, a siren starts to wail. Dobson and Pritchard see the soldiers running towards them. Pritchard frantically turns to the pilot, screaming to be heard.
What are you waiting for? Go.
The pilot hesitates. Dobson presses the gun to his head.
Do it!
A tense beat. The soldiers are closing in. The pilot glances over at the co-pilot, then shuts everything down. An instant later, they're surrounded by soldiers pointing rifles.
Exit the Blackhawk, hands in the air.
The pilots raise their hands. Pritchard looks at Dobson, knowing the situation is helpless.
Give me the gun.
Dobson doesn't question, just does it. Beat. Pritchard suddenly shoots the pilot and the co-pilot through the back of their seats, killing them instantly. Off Dobson's shocked look, Pritchard hurls the gun into the back of the chopper, opens the door and jumps out, hands in the air, screaming.
Don't fire, I'm a hostage. You just shot the pilots. On your knees. I'm under security, Pritchard. I was taken hostage.
Undersecretary, yes. Several soldiers rush in, grab him, and rush him to safety. More Humvees and soldiers are arriving, surrounding the chopper.
You and the chopper, come out or open fire.
Dobson stares at him, fixes Pritchard with an icy look, then puts his hands behind his head and gets out of the helicopter. Soldiers surrounding him, aiming M16s.
On the ground.
Dobson kneels, seething. Helipad Soldier 1 takes out zip cuffs, leans down to bind the wrists, but Dobson attacks, putting the soldier on the ground with a fast move, yanking the man's sidearm from his holster and swinging it to shoot Pritchard.
Bastard!
But Soldier 2 kicks his arm, knocking the shot wild and the gun flying. Fast and brutal fight ensues, Dobson on his feet and going berserk. Soldier 3 slams Dobson's head with the butt of his M16, dazing him. Soldier 4 grabs him from behind, pinning his arms to subdue him. As Dobson struggles, Soldier 4 swings him around.
Taser the son of a bitch!
And Taser 1, back on his feet and really pissed, whips out a taser gun and fires. Dobson's hit square in the chest with 2 taser darts trailing wires and zap. Electricity blasts through the wires, slamming into his body and making him jerk and shudder. Dobson's whole body seizes as the high-voltage charge scrambles his motor function and his arms are pinned behind his back and... Suddenly, Dobson's head turns all the way around, twisting around in an instant to face the man holding him. Through Dobson's faceplate, we see his helmet stuffed full of squirming tendrils. Soldier 4 screams at Dobson's faceplate, explodes outward, spiky barbs impaling the other man's head. Dobson's germ suit twists and rips as the body inside it changes violently. The soldiers open fire, shredding the Dobson thing with bullets. Soldiers with flamethrowers come running. Whoosh! The Dobson thing screams, thrashing wildly as it's burned alive. Pritchard turns and runs in horror away from the helipad, flames blossoming skyward behind him. Interior missile silo night. Little Bear and Gates enter the silo. It's littered with fallen gantries and twisted metal, some of it piled too high to see over. Little Bear shines his flashlight down, revealing paw prints on the dusty concrete floor.
It's down here. We've got it trapped.
Little Bear lights a cigar. Gates eyes him curiously. They follow the paw prints through the maze of debris. Suddenly, the coyote thing leaps onto the top a pile of mangled steel right in front of them. Little Bear and Gates whirl their flashlights towards it as it snarls down at them. They face it down, both men unflinching as they poise their weapons for the kill, when suddenly, there's another growl. And another. Little Bear and Gates look up. A dozen pair of strange yellow eyes glint at them from above and all around. Gates shines his flashlight up. Standing on a circular catwalk, bringing the silo above them, are a dozen coyote things, staring down at them and growling.
Looks like you brought some friends.
Little Bear and Gates gaze around at the coyote thing surrounding them on the circular catwalk above, then look back to the lead coyote thing, the one Little Bear has chased for so long. It starts to tremble and change. Its face peels back and a new face replaces it. A human face, wet and glistening. It's Ivan Vetsenko, face glaring at him from the coyote's body, whipcord tendrils flailing around his head like a weird living mane. Only our lead coyote thing has this human face and sees the leader of the pack. We will now call him Alpha-Thing. The Alpha-Thing suddenly shrieks, a signal to attack. The other coyote things stampede to the various stairs leading down to the silo floor, racing down the steps. Little Bear and Gates take off through the maze of wreckage, rapidly getting surrounded. Little Bear spots a rusted-out gantry tower in the middle of the silo. The tower leads up toward the ceiling. About halfway up, the gantry is crisscrossed with additional catwalks. Little Bear and Gates make for the tower, falling back as Gates swings the carbine, firing shot after shot, nailing coyote things. Little Bear starts firing dynamite arrows, lighting them off with his cigar and letting them fly. The dynamite arrows go thunking into various leaping coyote things, exploding them massively in the confined space. The Alpha Thing shrieks and gibbers insanely. Little Bear and Gates reach the gantry tower. There is a narrow, rusty ladder leading 5 stories straight up.
Go!
Gates grabs hold of the ladder, puts his foot on the first rung, creak, and the whole ladder wobbles. The brackets have completely rusted through. Gates hesitates, sees the Alpha Thing and his pack closing in. He scrambles up the ladder and Little Bear follows, climbing out of reach as slavering coyote things snap at their heels. Frustrated, the coyote things frantically circle the ladder, barking, howling, and jumping. The Alpha Thing stands on its hind legs, front paws on the ladder, looking up with its weird Vetsenko face knitted in blind rage. Gates looks down at it and lets out a terrified, exhilarated laugh.
Try climbing, you prick!
Suddenly, a pair of raw-looking human arms burst out of Alpha Thing's chest, grabbing the ladder with human hands. The Alpha Thing starts to climb after them. Gates looks startled.
Stop making suggestions.
They hurry up the ladder, and the Alpha-Thing climbing below, the ladder rocking back and forth under their combined weight. Another support breaks loose, and the ladder pitches a few feet to one side with a screech of rending metal. Gates slips, but manages to keep climbing, the ladder teetering with every step. Gates reaches the top, hurls himself to safety on the catwalk, and looks down. Little Bear is almost at the top, but the ladder is on the verge of breaking loose completely. Gates reaches down. Little Bear reaches for his hand. Their fingers brush, then crack. The last support gives way. Gates tries to grab the ladder, but it tilts away from him, falling over backward with Little Bear and the Alpha-Thing clinging to it. The top of the ladder slams into the catwalk on the opposite side of the silo. Little Bear and the Alpha-Thing are nearly thrown off. Little Bear's leg smacks against the metal and breaks with an audible crack. He cries out in pain, but holds on. On the other side of the silo, Gates shoots at the Alpha-Thing with his rifle, blowing off pieces of it, but it just snarls and keeps climbing towards Little Bear. Little Bear reaches the top of the ladder with the Alpha-Thing right behind him. He clambers and tumbles over the guardrail onto the catwalk as the Alpha-Thing lunges, its Vincenzo face splitting and peeling away to reveal a dark maw lined with hooked fangs. Little Bear kicks the ladder with his good leg, dislodging it from the catwalk. The ladder and the screeching Alpha-Thing plummet to the bottom of the silo. Splat. Little Bear sits against the wall trying to catch his breath. Gates watches from the other side of the silo.
How bad's the leg?
Broke.
I don't see any way across.
Little Bear peers over the edge as the coyote things prowling around the bottom of the silo, circling and howling up at them. The ones that Gates shot are moving again. Long spider legs ooze out of the bullet holes in their bodies, and they stand up. Even the Alpha-Thing, splattered all over the concrete, is starting to squirm, its broken body reforming, mewling in anger.
Looks like I got us in over our heads. Hey, convict. What's your name?
Hollis Gates.
I'm Frank Little Bear.
I'll be back for you, Frank.
I know you will, Hollis. But if you get back and it's not really me.
Don't worry. That's a promise.
Gates turns and enters a gantry service tunnel. Little Bear watches him go. Interior meeting hall night. It's dark. Samantha and Michael are asleep on a cot. Suddenly a hand grabs Samantha by the shoulder and they wake with a start. It's Bob, Jamie, Harold, and all the townspeople. Jamie is holding a length of rope. Harold and some of the others have hammered tools have hammers and tools held like weapons.
It's okay. All they want is Michael. They're not gonna hurt him. There's a storage closet with the lock.
Samantha faces the townspeople in horror, shielding Michael.
We're not locking our nephew up. There's nothing wrong with him.
How do you know? Your own sister was one you couldn't tell.
Samantha shies away from them.
Grumbles of agreement from the townspeople. Samantha shies away from them, cradling Michael against her shoulder.
I'm not a monster, I swear.
Michael, it's a precaution. If you got nothing to hide, you don't need to worry.
That's right. We don't want to hurt nobody, okay? Not unless we have to. That's up to you. Are you with us or against us?
I guess I'm against you.
Everyone turns to see Sheriff Hayes, looming from the shadows with a baseball bat.
Don't get in the middle of this. We got a right to defend ourselves.
Against what? Show me an enemy and I'll fight right alongside you.
These things don't show themselves. Len, not until it's too late. We're not going to wait around because you don't have the guts to do what has to be done.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Takes guts to gang up on a woman and an old boy.
Bob was taken aback by this.
Some of us have families here. We can't just do nothing.
No, but we have to do the right thing. A couple of days ago, y'all would have known the difference. Look, we're all scared, but let's not forget who we are. Bob, this is Michael. This is Samantha, your own wife.
Bob pauses, looks at Samantha and Michael. They're terrified.
Uncle Bob, please.
Harold moves towards him with a length of pipe.
Step aside, Bob. You can't do this. We will.
But Bob stops him, grabbing him firmly by the arm.
Don't you touch him.
A tense beat. Harold smashes him in the head with the pipe. Bob crumples to the floor, unconscious. Hayes quickly moves between Samantha and Harold, baseball bat poised. Harold turns to the town people, pointing at Bob's body with his pipe.
He's probably one of them too.
Yeah, that's funny coming from you. I heard you spent last night hiding out in your cellar with Dale Rafferty, and we all saw what he turned into.
That's a lie. I was down there alone.
That's not what those military doctors told me. They told me all your stories, how you survived, asked me to keep my eyes open.
Suddenly, the tide of suspicion turns towards Harold as...
Y'all brain damaged? He's playing you. Or maybe it's you that's been playing us. You've had it out for that boy right from the start. Why is that, Harold? So we wouldn't see what was right in front of our faces? Oh, it's the kid. He's the one you want? Fine then. Room in that closet for 2.
They close in on Harold, clutching their weapons. Harold backs away, lifts the pipe, ready to swing.
Don't come near me. You're not putting me in there with that thing. I'll kill you first, I swear to God.
Suddenly, a townie jumps Harold from behind, grabbing his arms.
Get the rope!
Harold twists free, whacks the townie in the face with the pipe, again in the back of the head. The townie falls, and the mob snaps. They all move in on Harold as one, pummeling him with weapons and fists, driving him to the ground. Harold cries out as the townspeople savagely beat him. Samantha recoils in horror and covers Michael's eyes. Harold screams, echoing as we cut to black. End of Act 5. Act 6. Fade in. Interior meeting hall night. Harold is bloody and helpless, trying to crawl away, but the townspeople are in a frenzy. Maureen starts smashing his head with a hammer.
Kill him before he changes.
Whip pan to Hayes. He sees little Taylor huddled in the corner, crying. He runs over and scoops the boy up, motions for Samantha and Michael to follow, then hurries off, carrying Taylor down a dark hallway. Samantha runs after him with Michael. Interior mobile lab pathology laboratory night. Blackburn, Lukanov, Sommers, and Weber are in hazmat suits. In front of them is a petri dish marked Avery with blood on it. A Bunsen burner and a large battery pack sits next to it. 2 soldiers with flamethrowers guard the door.
First, the wire test.
Blackburn heats the tip of a wire over to Bunsen burner, then dips it in the blood. No reaction.
Now, the electricity test.
A tense beat. Anxious looks all around. Lukanov picks up 2 insulated wires connected to the battery and sticks their exposed tips into the blood. Electricity sizzles and snaps as interior mobile lab isolation room airlock night. Buzz thunk. Close-up of an ID card scanner on a door as a card is swiped through, and Pritchard hurries into the airlock, frantic and out of breath, closes the airlock door behind him. It locks with a loud click and a red light above the inner door turns yellow. He composes himself as the airlock cycles with a hiss of air. The yellow light finally turns green. He swipes his card through the second scanner, opens the inner door into the isolation room. Pritchard enters. Avery is seated in a chair. He looks calmly up as the door closes and locks automatically.
Just hear me out.
Interior meeting room, men's room, night. Hayes and Samantha burst in with the boys. Hayes indicates a small window near the ceiling.
We gotta get the boys out. It's not safe for them anymore.
In the main hall, the front door is smashed open and soldiers storm inside, shining gun lights around the dark room. It's Angel 1, led by Hauser and Chadwick. They see Jamie and the others still beating Harold's unmoving body, their hands and faces speckled with blood. They look like monsters themselves in the stark glow of the gunlight.
On the ground, everyone, now, do it.
On the ground!
Townspeople drop their weapons and get on the floor as the soldiers swiftly secure the room. In the men's room, Hayes is standing on the sink trying to get the window open. It's stuck. They are hearing the commotion in the other room. In the main hall, Hauser and Chadwick are checking Harold's body.
We have 1 local down. They killed him.
Was he infected?
No, sir. Doesn't look like it.
In the darkness behind them, something moves unnoticed, rising up from one of the cots. It's Bob. He shakily gets to his feet, blood streaming from the side of his head. He sees the people on the ground, soldiers standing over them with guns, and Harold's body. The soldiers still haven't seen him. He moves to the soldier closest to him, sees his holstered pistol. Bob steals his nerves, grabs the soldier around the neck, yanks his firearm out, and jams it into the soldier's head.
Drop the rifles. Drop them now.
The startled soldier drops his M16. The other soldiers whirl around and point their guns at Bob and his hostage.
Put the gun on the ground now.
Where's Samantha? Where's my wife? What have you done with my wife?
Sir, we'll help you find your wife, but you need to lower the weapon now.
Bob turns to the prone townspeople and shouts at them with terror and impotent rage.
What's wrong with you people? You want to die like sheep? Now's our chance. They can't stop all of us.
Interior men's room. Hayes pounds on the stuck window, but it's no use. He looks down at Samantha, then abruptly puts his elbow through the window, breaking the glass. Smash. The sound of the glass shattering startles everyone. Chadwick glances towards it, and in that second of distraction, Jamie grabs a wrench, lunges at his feet, and clobbers Chadwick. The soldiers turn and open fire, the darkness shattered with the chaotic bursts of light, and the other townspeople pick up their weapons and make a desperate rush at them. Hauser turns to see what's happening, and in the confusion, Bob panics and shoots him.
1-1, do you copy? What's going on in there?
The townspeople overwhelm the surprised soldiers, taking hostages and barricading the doors as, in the men's room, Hayes picks Taylor up and passes him through the broken window, lowers and drops him to the ground outside. Samantha gives Michael a fierce hug and kisses his head.
Hey, Taylor, take care of Taylor. You boys find a place to hide and stay there. You don't come out for anyone, understand?
Hayes grabs him, helping him into the window. Michael lands in the dirt next to Taylor. The boys look around, terrified.
Go, boys, go.
The two boys run off into the night. Interior isolation room night. Avery sits, eyeing Pritchard.
So you'll admit you framed me.
Off the record in exchange for immunity from prosecution and my full retirement package.
You set me up, waste everyone's time letting them think I'm infected, then come in here and want to get paid for it and benefits.
Mm-hmm. Pete, you're guilty until proven innocent. I'm your only way out of this, and you're mine. It sounds like the makings of a deal.
You are unbelievable. Okay, deal. Tell them the truth so we can get out of here.
Observation room, other side of the glass. Blackburn and Lukanov enter and are stunned to see Pritchard through the one-way mirror. Blackburn slaps the intercom.
Pritchard, get out.
Relax, everything's under control.
We found a new test. Get out. Get out now.
Pritchard has turned to the mirror to talk to Blackburn, so he doesn't notice when Avery starts to tremble in the chair behind him. Doesn't see Avery's eyes rolling it back into his head.
Just calm down. I know how it looks, but we've talked it over and realized we may have made some mistakes.
Pritchard can't see Blackburn through the mirror, so he doesn't know she isn't listening. She's looking at something over his shoulder. It's not until he sees the dark, quivering shape slowly rising behind him in the reflection that he realizes. Pritchard spins and looks up at the twisted Avery-Thing looming over him. It shrieks at him, spewing milky goo from its open mouth. Pritchard takes it right to the face. He falls to the floor, groaning and only half conscious as his skin begins to gurgle and dissolve. Blackburn and Lukanov can only watch in horror as the Avery-Thing reaches down with a three-clawed hand and plucks Pritchard's ID card off of his chest.
Ooh.
It lumbers to the airlock door and swipes the card. The door hisses open and it moves into the airlock. The red light above the outer door clicks to yellow. Blackburn dashes to the computer station, poised her hand over the big red emergency button, hesitating.
Do it. Do it.
We'll be trapped in here.
So will it.
She slams the button down. The words containment breach flash over the computer screens. Instantly, the overhead lights turn red. A klaxon blares and a plexiglass shield slams down from the ceiling, cutting Blackburn and Lukanov from the exit airlock. In the isolation room airlock, the Avery-Thing at the door leading to the observation room. It swipes Pritchard's card over the second scanner. Bzzz. The door stays closed. The light above stays red. A readout next to the scanner displays lockdown override. The Avery-Thing looks at it, then slams itself against the door. Wham. Observation room. Wham. The isolation room door shudders from the impact. Blackburn and Lukanov start backing away from it. Wham. 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 It's not going to hold. Lukanov quickly looks around, spots the fire sprinklers at the ceiling. He rushes to Lab 3, knocks the head off of a Bunsen burner, and phoom. A 3-foot jet of flame erupts from the nozzle. He thrusts it towards the ceiling, aiming at the sprinkler head. The sensor trips and the sprinklers activate, spraying the room with water.
The table.
The airlock door buckles. Blackburn pushes a steel table towards him. Lukanov frantically flicking switches, powering up all the electrical equipment in the room. He grabs a rubber mat, slaps it onto the table, and sends her clambering up onto it. Suddenly, the airlock door rips open and the Avery-Thing claws its way through. Blackburn stands on the rubber mat, helps Lukanov up next to her. The Avery-Thing emerges, its horrible mutating feet stepping out of the airlock into an inch of water as Lukanov tries to tip an electronic cabinet over. Blackburn reaches over and together they manage to tip it, just as the thing sees them. The cabinet smashes in and the equipment inside explodes in a shower of sparks on the wet metal floor. And in another homage to Hawks, the Avery-Thing is seized by arcing electricity, quivering and convulsing, a flurry of strange faces and appendages leaping out of it. Smoke rises from its body, and it bursts into flames and collapses heavily onto the wet floor in a sizzling heap. Interior missile base tunnel night. Gates moves along the dark corridor, rifle in hand. As he nears a junction of several corridors, he uses the tip of the rifle shell to scratch an arrow on the wall next, pointing back the way he came. He hears something. Footsteps. He ducks out of sight. Townspeople appear. It's too dark to make out faces, but they're carrying scavenged equipment and sheets of metal like ants carrying breadcrumbs back from a picnic. Some of it looks too heavy for one person to carry, but none are even breaking a sweat. They pass by. Gates carefully peers out. Coast is clear. Interior underground missile base, gantry service tunnel night. Little Bear hobbles out of the silo into the dark corridor, his leg in a makeshift splint. It's too painful to walk very far. He leans against a wall, slides down until he's sitting. As he tightens the splint, he hears something shuffling in the dark. The sound echoes, hard to tell where it came from. He freezes and shines his flashlight around.
Hollis?
No answer. He turns and slowly pans the flashlight in the other direction. Empty darkness. Something moves in the heavy light. Little Bear quickly swings the flashlight. Nothing. He holds the flashlight steady, pinning a large pile of rusty debris in his beam, waiting. He knows he heard something. A long, silent beat, and then a bunny hops slowly into view. Little Bear swings his flashlight, pinning it in the beam. It's just sitting there staring at him. Camera pan in on Little Bear. Exterior abandoned lot night. A helicopter searchlight swings by from overhead. When it's gone, Taylor pushes aside a loose fence plank and wriggles through, followed by Michael.
Come on now, I know where we can hide.
They run to a large sheet of plywood lying on the ground. Taylor drags it aside, revealing a large hole in the ground. It's impossible to see how deep it is. Michael eyes it uncertainly.
It's okay, I play down here sometimes.
Taylor climbs down into the hole. Michael hears something and turns. Soldiers are out on patrol in the street, their gun lights visible through the fence planks.
Come on.
The gun lights stop, turn back, approach the fence. Michael drops into the hole. Interior tunnel night, and finds himself in an uncontrolled slide down a dirt slope in the dark. He tries to slow his fall, frightened and disoriented, but the tunnel is too steep, no way to see how far he's fallen or where he's going. Suddenly there's a hole up ahead and he falls through it, tumbling into space. Interior underground missile base, personnel tunnel night. Michael lands hard in a cloud of dust, pebbles raining down on his head. He cringes, his hands and knees badly scraped. Then the cloud of dust clears and he realizes he's landed on a metal grate. He looks around. It's too dark to see more than a few feet in any direction, but he's in a concrete and metal corridor like the ones we saw at Gates in. There's a gaping hole in the ceiling directly above him.
Taylor, you okay? Where are we? Taylor?
Suddenly, dim emergency lighting activates, pinpoints of light suggesting miles of maze-like facilities. Steel pipes, ducting, and intersections of other tunnels stretch off into the darkness. A figure emerges from the shadows. Michael turns with a gasp, wide-eyed with terror as the camera tilts up to reveal his mother walking towards him.
Hello, Michael. Mommy's missed you.
Michael frantically rises and backs away as the Sara-Thing walks towards him, arms outstretched, smiling. Michael almost trips over something in the dark. It's Taylor cowering on the floor, face buried in his hands. Michael grabs his shoulder.
Get up, run!
Suddenly, Taylor looks up. His eyes have turned into little mouths filled with rows of needle-sharp teeth, his mouth a gaping maw of jagged fangs. Michael recoils in horror as the Taylor thing shrieks at him with all three mouths.
Michael, baby, don't be afraid.
Michael turns and runs off down the tunnel. Taylor springs to all fours like a dog, screeching and running after him.
What are you running from? Your friends are here. I'm here. There's lots of us. We're gonna have fun.
Various angles. Michael flees through the corridors, pursued by Sarah and Taylor things. He looks back, sees more of them after him now, shadowy human figures running behind Sarah and Taylor. Michael turns a corner and runs right into Gates. Gates shines the flashlight into Michael's face, rifle raised. In a split second, Gates takes everything in. Michael, desperate and helpless, the things behind him. Snap decision time.
Hit the deck, kid.
Michael ducks and Gates opens fire. The muzzle flashes of a carbine, giving a stark, surreal glimpse of the things staggering back as Gates blasts away at them. Michael watches in horror as the Sara-Thing is shot between the eyes and doesn't die. Gates grabs him by the arm and runs, dragging Michael behind him. The tunnels twist and turn, a wild maze of dim emergency lighting and Gates's bobbing flashlight beam. They turn to one tunnel and the flashlight beam falls on a group of things. Townspeople headed right towards them. One of them, an old woman with a tattered nightgown, points at them and howls. Gates and Michael quickly backtrack, cutting in another direction as the things chase after them. Gates desperately shines the flashlight around, spots a long vertical shaft in the ceiling with a ladder leading straight up. Gates lifts Michael and gets him started up the ladder. Gates sees the things racing towards them and clambers up after him.
Move it, kid, haul ass.
Michael looks down. The things are right below them and starting to scale up after them, scuttling like crabs, their arms and legs weirdly disjointed. Michael climbs as fast as he can. As Michael and Gates near the top, a bright white light shines in their face from above, soldiers appearing around the opening, pointing searchlights and flamethrowers down at them.
Freeze right there. Screw that. We got those things on our ass. We're coming up.
Soldier shines the light down the shaft past Gates, sees the horde of things swarming below. A soldier grabs Michael and hauls him up by the back of his shirt. Gates climbs up after him as, the thing's POV, camera races up the hole right on Gale's ass as he frantically scrambles to the top. The instant he's clear, the soldiers close in around the opening, pointing their flamethrowers down at camera and, let us have it, fill in the frame with fire. Fwum. Interior, White House Situation Room, night. Shadowed silhouettes of the president, officials, and military advisors at a long, polished conference table watch Blackburn on a giant video monitor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, we're a little pressed for time, so with your permission, we'll skip the introductions and get right to it.
Interior Mobile Lab Night Observation Room. Bustling with activity, Blackburn stands in front of a webcam, Lukanov at her side. Someone sits at the control panel, or Sommers sits at the control panel. Weber and General Wise stand by. They're all wearing orange ID cards.
We've patched a direct feed on all of our data to you. Your experts will be analyzing everything in real time, but we believe the most startling evidence of our findings will be what you'll see with your own eyes.
She steps aside, revealing the one-way window to the isolation room, and inside, Pritchard strapped to the metal chair. He's naked. He looks like a prisoner in a high-tech electric chair, wires from a dozen monitors or monitoring devices hanging off of him, and a dozen more electrodes are stuck all over his chest and head.
Guys, hey guys, look, I didn't mean for anyone to get hurt, okay? I'm feeling much better now. There's no need for this.
As you can see, the imitation of Undersecretary Pritchard is flawless.
Come on, please, I'm scared, okay? What's going on? Shouldn't I have a lawyer?
Lukanov cues Sommers, who turns a knob, sending electricity through Pritchard's body. Pritchard jolts against his restraints.
Burn it up.
Sommers turns a dial and the buzz builds. The needle rises. Pritchard convulses and screams. Wisps of smoke start to rise. Suddenly, the life signs monitors go crazy and Pritchard starts to change. Bulges spasm out of his body in a conservative fit, like the coyote caught in the electric fence. Suddenly, a second screaming head emerges. Avery. All that's left of Pritchard is his face sticking out of the side of Avery's head. Blackburn gestures to Sommers and he turns the power down. The sizzling Avery-Pritchard-Thing writhes and squirms in his chair, glistening and deformed and hideous.
Please, help me. Help
me.
Everyone is visibly shaken. Lukanov turns to Blackburn, amazed.
You see what happened? It's regressed, reverted to a past form. Again.
I think you've made your point, Doctor.
We've only scratched the surface. These organisms has a limited life cycle from worlds we haven't imagined yet. All those past lives, all that genetic information is stored in every cell. We can cause it to regress, reveal its past forms, peel it like an onion. It's a chance for us to find out what it's been, where it comes from, maybe even what it wants.
The others turn to Blackburn. She nods. Sommers turns the knob. The everything shrieks as its head is reabsorbed, but Pritchard's face remains as the new head emerges. Vitsenko. It looks around, moaning and terrified. Then Vitsenko's head melts away as we witness an increasingly hallucinatory display of life forms bursting forth and withering away. Coyotes, rabbits, bird-headed nightmares, Louise from the diner, characters from the Carpenter movie.
I want to come back inside. Don't you understand that? I'm all right. I'm much better.
Chariots of the gods, man. They practically own South America.
And then another head appears. It's Alina, Lukanov's wife. Lukanov goes pale, stricken at the sight.
Alina.
The Alina-Thing hears him through the speakers and looks up.
Yuri?
Lukanov moves to the window, puts his hand on the glass, overcome with emotion. A little louder there, Lukanov. All right. The Alina-Thing speaks in Russian, but the Pritchard face speaks simultaneously in English, like a parasite sharing its brain.
Yuri? Is that really you? I can't see you. Where are you? Oh, I've waited so long.
Tears well in Lukanov's eyes.
Yuri, I don't know why we were so afraid of it. It wants peace. When all the creatures of Earth are one, how could there be anything but peace?
Peace? No. Death.
Death is an illusion. Individuality is a dream. I see it now. We're all connected. Please, Yuri, set me free. There's so much there that I could show you. We can be together, part of an unending consciousness. We can live forever. Forever as one, my love.
Lukanov is trembling with grief and longing. Blackburn and the others watch in breathless silence. A beat. Then Lukanov gathers himself, his anguish giving way to white-hot anger.
Again.
Sommers turns the knob again, and the Alina-Thing screams. The electrodes spark, and one of them catches fire. Alina's head is reabsorbed, and the convulsing thing loses all human shape. The display grows ever more hallucinatory and surreal until the flesh splits to reveal a crab-like limb and a huge insectoid head. It's an alien, like the one Lukanov found on the spaceship in Antarctica. We've seen elements of its morphology in some forms that the thing has taken.
Ugh. What the hell was that?
We've regressed it to one of the aliens we found on its crashed spacecraft.
The alien thing speaks a strange, unintelligible language, but several vestigial half-melted human faces still speak English.
Please, release us.
Release us. Blackburn joins Lukanov at the glass.
We found your vessel. There was something on it. Something that destroyed you.
Explore.
Collect
Collect
life.
life samples from many worlds.
us
One
was
was infected.
infected?
Did gathered by accident.
Second.
Not too late.
Took us
Took
one
us
by
one by one.
Abomination.
Turned us against ourselves.
Abomination.
Exterior space flashback. Footage from the Carpenter movie, the opening shot. The spaceship flies past us, wobbling as it approaches Earth, bursting into flame as it enters the atmosphere.
Wanted our vessel.
Wanted to crash.
We crashed.
Crashed here on purpose. Destroy it.
Survived. Interior mobile lab observation room night.
Give us.
Release
Please,
us.
God.
Destroy you.
Destroy you.
Regress it to its purest form.
Sommers cranks the power. The faces scream, mouths growing wider and wider, jaws distending and taking on new shapes. Suddenly, the alien thing erupts into abject chaos. Seemingly, subliminal flashes of faces, limbs, organs begin boiling out of it. Previous lives, creatures from 100 worlds, bizarre and unknown, changing and reforming so fast we can barely make them out. The sturdy restraints snap like rubber bands. Bolts of electricity arc around the isolation room. The thing reverts to its raw state, a swirling amorphous mass. Lukanov shouts through the glass.
What do you want?
The dark whirlpool of seething flesh and blood begins shrieking from 1,000 toothless mouths. Live, 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 live.
What do you want of us?
Die, 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 die. Then it explodes, shattering the window with protoplasm. Blackburn and the others jump back, startled. The window is obscured with a viscous slime. As it slowly drips away, we see that the room is now empty. The thing is gone. Aside from the burnt goo dripping off the walls, there's nothing left. Go to black. End of Act 6. Act 7. Fade in. Interior command tent, night. General Wise stands at the end of a table with Blackburn and Lukanov. The room is filled to capacity with soldiers and medical personnel, bleary-eyed and beyond exhaustion. Rix is with them.
Thanks for our new test. The president has authorized our evacuation. This is good news. I'm allowed to reveal the nuclear bomb will be dropped on the site in 2.5 hours to prevent further contamination.
That wakes people up. Surprised, anxious looks around the table. The red wedge in the countdown clock is just down to a sliver.
Dr. Blackburn will be overseeing the testing of all personnel.
Blackburn steps forward, holding an orange ID card.
Once you pass the test, you'll be given one of these. Do not lose this. No one will be allowed to leave the quarantine zone without one. Once we're safely beyond the blast radius, everyone will be retested.
What about the civilians?
They're still holding 7 of our men hostage. Negotiations are ongoing. As to our military objective, the infected hostiles, since the underground missile bases where they've been taking refuge was designed to withstand a direct nuclear hit, our nuke will lack full effect. We're going to have to go down there and clean them out ourselves.
Sir, I've had advanced teams searching down there for 2 hours and no sign. We simply don't have enough time to search the entire base.
We won't have to. We found someone who can lead us right to it.
Exterior base camp, pre-dawn. Gates is being awkwardly double-timed along in a germ suit, while the strike teams gear up all around him. Soldiers in germ suits load rifles, shoulder flamethrowers, holster tasers, shock batons, stun guns, and cattle prods. Everyone has their orange ID cards, as do all the government personnel from here on. Gates uncomfortably tugs at his germ suit. He's flanked by a germ-suited official on one side and Colonel Ricks on the other as... Your pardon is being prepared and the president will sign it just as soon as the White House lawyers have a chance to...
Yeah, right. You got something to don't ride up in that crotch so much.
Ooh. Another area. In the swirl of activity, we find...
You don't have to go in with them.
I've given up too much not seeing this finish. Just promise me. If you find it here, you must kill it. Swiftly and without mercy.
Of course.
Lukanov reaches out and shakes her hand. She takes it.
An honor working with you, Doctor.
The honor has been mine.
Angle shifts to Gates and Ricks arriving with an army of commandos, joined now by Wise. Suddenly, they hear a distant rumbling like thunder overhead. Everyone looks up. The sky is beginning to lighten, just enough for them to make out 3 contrails streaking across the stratosphere. In the air, a B-1 bomber soars high above the desert, 2 F-16s flying escort as they sweep into their holding pattern. On the ground, everybody gazing up. Gates glances over, makes eye contact with Blackburn. A beat.
Hey, honey, you got a cigarette?
Don't I wish?
And off they go, everybody rushing to their tasks. Interior underground missile base tunnel pre-dawn. Lukanov, Gates, and Wise climb down the ladder to the shaft that Gates and Michael used to make their escape. Gates reaches bottom and looks around. He's surrounded by soldiers in germ suits, flamethrowers, rifles, grenade launchers, lights shining in his face. Wise motions for Gates to lead the way. Exterior meeting hall pre-dawn. The building is dark and silent. Outside the fence, soldiers in hazmat suits are positioned behind the Jeeps and Humvees. There are snipers on the rooftops. Blackburn, Weber, and Ricks approach.
They're refusing to take the blood test, and they want to meet directly with the person in charge. That would now be you, ma'am.
Beck.
She takes off her orange ID badge and hands it to Weber.
You test me when I come back out.
Interior underground missile base personnel tunnel dawn. The beams of gun lights pierce the darkness. The strike team makes its way through the maze-like tunnels, aiming flamethrowers and rifles, checking corners, looking to Gates for directions. Gates pauses with his flashlight, finds one of the arrows he's scratched onto the concrete wall.
That way.
Exterior meeting hall dawn. Blackburn enters the enclosure, walks towards the meeting hall, hands in the air. The door opens a crack and Jamie peers out, pointing a pistol at her and gestures her inside. Interior meeting hall night. Blackburn enters. A townie pats her down. The townspeople glare at her, armed with pistols and M16s like a guerrilla army. There are bodies covered with blood-stained sheets on the floor. The captured soldiers are seated on the floor, hands tied behind them. Standing over them, an N16 on his hip, is Bob Boyle.
You know what? You know what we want. Let us out of here. Nobody else has to get hurt.
Happy to. After you've taken the new blood test.
Get it? You people come in here, lock us up, push us around, treat us like we're the enemy. Well, we're not. We're Americans. We're not going to stand for this. We just want our lives back.
How about you start by telling us what happened to our son?
Was he one of the boys that escaped?
He and my nephew.
Blackburn glances over at Samantha.
Michael is safe. He passed the test. The other boy is still missing. Michael says he's infected, but we haven't been able to confirm that.
Wendy starts crying. Jamie flies into a rage, grabs a fistful of Blackburn's hazmat suit, and shoves his gun against her faceplate.
That's not true. Our son's human. Michael's the one who's infected.
You want me to lie? Would that make you feel better? There's a plane with a nuclear bomb in the holding pattern over this area. In less than 2 hours, they drop it.
A beat of stunned disbelief. Bob looks at her, mind reeling.
You all have seen what happened to your town. You want it to happen all over the world? There's no cure, no vaccine. Nobody's immune. The bomb is our only chance of stopping it.
There's no bomb. She's lying.
Believe what you want, but we're pulling out in 90 minutes.
She reaches up, pushes Jamie's gun away from her face, and simply walks away. She heads for the door, meeting the stricken gazes of the townspeople she passes, men with weapons, women and children huddled on cots. She pauses at the door and looks back.
Take the test and live. Stay here and die. Your choice.
Exterior meeting hall, dawn. The door opens and Blackburn steps out, motions hold your fire to the tense assault teams. She pauses in the courtyard, waiting. Finally, a hand appears in the doorway, waving a white flag, and a voice is heard. We're coming out! The hostages are the first ones to emerge, followed by the surrendering townspeople. Interior underground missile base, tunnel, dawn. Gates finds another one of his marks scratched into the wall.
Yeah, this is it. Here's where I saw those townspeople. They were heading that way.
The assault team moves down a wider tunnel that looked exactly like it was designed to accommodate smaller vehicles. In fact, they pass a few silent and rusted bomb-towing tractors. Men are spread out, flamethrower muzzles flickering. Soon, a strange buzzing sound and flickering green light somewhere ahead. Lukanov gives Gates a questioning look. Gates shrugs, uncertain. At a signal from Wise, the team edges forward. Interior underground staging area, cavern, dawn. And they emerge from the tunnel on an upper level to a large cavern. They edge closer to the railing, using natural rock formations and crates of gear for cover. The buzzing is almost deafening here. The eerie green glow is coming from below. Camera comes around to reveal the tunnel opens out to a large facility built into a natural cavern. The walls are made of rock, stalactites hang from the ceiling. The floor is a mixture of smooth concrete and natural rock formations. Heavy steel blast doors are set into the wall on the far side of the cavern. All of the missing townspeople and soldiers are here, over 300 of them spread out in small groups. There are husbands and housewives, old men and women in their pajamas, children, soldiers, pimply-faced teenagers, the most normal people you can imagine, but silent and serious, moving with intent purpose, scurrying like a nest of agitated ants. There are rabbits and coyotes and other animals darting around their feet. The buzzing and green lights are coming from the geysers of sparks kicked up into the air by an unrecognizable tool that they're using. As the things bustle back and forth, we focus in and finally see what they're working on. The things are creating dozens of little silver flying saucers about 4 feet in diameter. Gates and the strike team gaze down at the things silently assembling their tiny spaceships.
That's what they've been doing down here. Not hiding, planning their escape.
In those. Aren't they a little, small?
Sadly, no.
Wise
Sorry.
motions for his field radio, toggles and speaks quietly.
Breaker team, Charlie team, Delta team respond.
In another tunnel, Major Cruz, leading his strike team, answers the call.
Baker here, copy you.
Charlie team, copy. Delta, copy.
Resume Wise.
Enemy sighted, silo 3 staging area. All strike teams converge on my position. Start setting the HIT charges.
Copy that, Alpha.
Thermobaric fuel, air explosives. We're gonna set the goddamn air on fire.
Yes, I know. The Soviets invented it.
Exterior meeting hall, early morning. The townspeople are gathered in the fenced enclosure like POWs, germ-suited troops aiming weapons and flamethrowers as Blackburn and the medics draw blood, working fast.
Number 12?
Bob moves up, rolling up his sleeve, but hesitating.
I was just
What?
wondering. I was wondering if a person is one of these things, would they even know it?
Pause. Blackburn's eyes lock with his.
I don't know.
Bob nods, mouth dry with fear. He offers his arm. She inserts the needle, drawing his blood. Interior underground missile base, personnel tunnel, early morning. Cruz's strike team moves fast, setting charges as they go. Other tunnels, various angles. Charlie and Delta teams are also on the move, setting charges. Silo staging area. Resume Wise's group.
How could they be building spaceships?
Each cell possesses the combined intellect of previous generations. Inside every one of them are billions of minds working together.
Right. So how the hell are they going to fly those things out of here?
Wise has no idea. Lukanov gives them both a look.
Gentlemen, how would one launch anything out of a missile complex?
The silo.
Lukanov spreads his hand in a correct answer gesture.
Give me a schematic of this immediate area.
Fast, the soldiers pulls a PDF device with a plasma screen, fingers flying across the keys, diagrams of underground base flashing until he finds their current position, the area surrounding Silo 3. Wise points at the screen.
We're here. This camp. This is where they would prep the warheads.
He points across the cavern at the huge blast doors on the far side of where the things are busily working.
The tunnel over there leads directly into the silo.
And how would one open the silo itself?
From this control bunker here, halfway up the silo wall.
You must alert all of your men. That room is their objective. We must stop the silo from opening, or everything we've done is for nothing.
Gates notices it first. A soft, wet, slithery sound right behind them. He slowly turns, the others following his look, gaping at what they see. It's Taylor. Or rather, what's left of him, which is just his head at the end of a snake body, fang-filled mouths where his eyes should be, a grotesque serpent with the head of a little boy.
Gotta be kidding me.
Suddenly, screech! The Taylor-Thing head snake screeches at them with all three mouths, then darts off. The screeching echoes through the cavern. The things stop what they're doing and turn around. They're all here. Shiner, Billy and Paulette, Phantom and Ghost squads. The head snake slithers over to them, turns back and hisses at where Lukanov and the others are hiding. Gates turns to General Wise, whispering.
You better tell your boys to hurry. I think the head just ratted us out.
Interior command tent, early morning. Angle closes on a sealed transparent containment box with Weber's hands and the box's rubber gloves. He zaps a blood sample with an electric charge. No reaction. Negative. Sommers jots the results as the camera moves to the next box, where Blackburn is working with rubber gloves. She empties a vial of blood into a petri dish and then zaps it. Zap. Scream. Everyone jumps as the blood sample screams, leaping from the petri dish and splattering the inside of the box, trying to escape. Blackburn yanks her hands out of the box, gives the squealing blood thing a horrified look.
No one's positive.
Interior silo staging area, cavern, early morning. The work has stopped. The things are moving forward, gathering as a group and picking up weapons, carving knives, hatchets, hunting rifles, lawnmower blades, sledgehammers. They stare up at the elevated area where Wise and his group are concealed. Then a figure shoulders its way to the front of the crowd, front of the crowd of the things to stand in front of them all. It's Little Bear.
All this? That you?
Angle favoring Gates. The soldiers are poised, but Wise gestures for them to wait.
My team's not in position yet. Talk to it. Buy us some time.
Gates gives him a look like he's nuts, but turns to a nearby soldier, gesturing for the flamethrower.
Let me borrow that a sec.
Soldier shrugs off the flamethrower and hands it over. Gates grabs the strap and rises. favoring the things, and emerges into view. He comes down from the upper level, slinging the flamethrower strap casually over one shoulder. A few things start towards him, but Little Bear gestures for them to stop. The strike team is now rising into view, men scurrying for position, guns trained on the things below. Gates stops, faces the crowd of things. He casually finishes scraping the flamethrower onto his back, getting it firmly seated. Little Bear steps forward. A pair of coyote things flank him. One is the alpha thing with the hideous Vitsenko face. Little Bear scratches it behind the ears, the eyes never leaving Gates.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, Hollis.
I told you I'd come back for you.
Yeah, you did. I see you brought some friends.
You too.
So, the bad news. You're not going to make it to Mexico.
I may not be getting out of here. But I'll tell you what, Kimosabe.
He raises the flamethrower nozzle, flicks the igniter, and lights the pilot flame.
Neither are you. It wasn't meant to be.
I thought you didn't believe in fate.
I'm keeping an open mind. What about the Hauser, Frank? Balance?
Balance? I am the balance. You see now what the skinwalker was trying to tell us. Open your eyes.
He spreads his arm in some kind of weird mystic, indicating all the other things.
The Hozo is all around you. We are all connected. I feel it now. It's you and your kind who don't belong anymore.
Little Bear starts forward slowly. Gates tenses, finger on the flamethrower trigger.
I made you a promise, Frank.
It's no use, Hollis. We're all skinwalkers now.
Suddenly, explosions rip through the ranks of the things. Instant chaos. Cruz arriving, strike team pouring onto the caverns from points behind. Little Bear howling in alien fury. The battle. And all hell breaks loose as the battle for the fate of mankind rips into screaming overdrive. Gates firing his flamethrower, Little Bear hurling himself from its path, the sweeping flame instead engulfing a row of things behind. And Wise's group opens fire, advancing to the cavern floor with M16 muzzles flashing and grenade launchers firing, explosions and bullets tearing into the air with turning the air into a razor mist of debris and screaming thing flesh. Flamethrowers blast fire in sweeping arcs, setting things aflame, fire and smoke and chaos. But the things don't go down easily. When shredded by bullets, they get up again and keep coming. When blown apart by grenades, the pieces themselves adapt, reform, change, and evolve right before your eyes into a wildly vicious, smaller life form that scuttle and creep, swarming and attacking. Phantom and ghost squads appear, assault rifles blazing, ripping human soldiers to shreds with gunfire. A group of human soldiers are attacked, their positions overwhelmed by housewives, paperboys, little old ladies, the guy at the gas station, wielding meat cleavers, croquet mallets, knitting needles. A small-town Norman Rockwell mob has been reinterpreted by William Blake on The Trip to Hell, sprouting barbed crab-like appendages that shred, tear, and impale. Gates is moving through the battle, roasting things as he goes, looking for Little Bear.
Frank, come on out. I got something for you. I got your hustle right here.
Suddenly, several soldiers behind him get ripped apart by bullets and blown off their feet. He whirls and sees Ginnie, our angelic-looking 6-year-old, striding through the battle like Patton, coldly mowing down soldiers right and left with an M16. Her ammo runs low. She quickly and expertly ejects the mag and slaps in a new one. A soldier gets her in his sights, but hesitates, unable to shoot a child. She levels the M16, fires, and wastes him.
Hey, kid!
She turns. There's Gates. Whoosh. He flames her instantly, turning her into a shrieking ball of fire. Flame engulfs the screen as we go to black. End of Act 7. Act 8, fade in. Interior meeting room, early morning.
The townspeople wait, all wearing numbers pinned to their clothes under guard. All eyes go to the door as Blackburn enters, trailed by Ricks and Weber.
When your number is called, step forward.
4, 5, 8, 12, 13.
Bob steps forward, looking stunned like he might pass out. 4 other people are with him. The people eye them with horror and suspicion. Bob sees Samantha staring at him with agonized tension.
18, 19, 22, 26.
That's Samantha, number 26. She moves to the group, passing Hayes, and who reaches out to touch her, but a guard moves between them. Samantha joins Bob, standing at his side.
29, 31, 34, 39, 43.
Maureen, the pregnant woman, hears her number, tries to stand, can't. She puts out a hand for help. Nobody will touch her or even look at her. One of the soldiers has to help her up.
46, 47.
That last number is Jamie. He doesn't move forward, too shocked to move. People start edging away from him.
Mistake. You screwed up. I ain't one of those things. Not me. I'm human. Wendy.
He turns to his wife, but she turns away. Soldiers close in, hemming him in with flamethrowers.
Wendy, please. It's a mistake.
Take them outside.
Exterior meeting hall morning. The 16 people whose numbers were called are herded outside. Jamie, weeping, Weesneek has to be dragged by the soldiers.
Oh, the test is wrong. I'm human. Can't you see that? Can't you see you got it wrong?
Hayes appears at the door to watch the other townspeople crowded behind him. Ricks motions them to stay inside. The 16 people are herded into the middle of the enclosure. The gate is swung open. Jamie looks up and sees a dozen soldiers with flamethrowers are double timing into the courtyard. The faceplates of their germ suits tinted black so we can't see their faces. This is an execution squad. Jamie freaks out. The guards quickly subdue him, driving him to his knees, the muzzle of an M16 at the back of his head. The killers get nearer. Samantha and Bob embrace, terrified. She throws a desperate look at Blackburn, but Blackburn refuses to meet her gaze. It happens fast. The executioners arrive and hustle right past them, towards the meeting hall. Hayes and the others see them coming, eyes widening in shock, breaking away from the doorway, screaming as realization sets in, turning to run, but it's too late because, whoosh, the first flamethrower blast erupts in through the doorway, setting a dozen people aflame. The doors are slammed, padlocked, and a dozen flamethrowers start hosing the meeting hall with fire. The 16 survivors watch, riveted with horror. Angle close on Blackburn, gazing at the flames. She looks to Bob and Samantha.
16 of you. That's all that were human. Just 16.
Burning building. Inhuman shrieks within. The boards start to shake, pounding from inside. A few boards punch loose, flames shooting out, along with hideous, monstrous limbs clawing futilely at the air. Interior, missile silo, staging area, cavern, morning. The battle continues to rage with all the grace of a bloody street brawl, and in the midst of it, we find Wise and Lukanov in a phalanx of soldiers, flamethrowers erupting in all directions, pinned down like Custer and his men at the Little Bighorn. Lukanov is screaming into a field radio.
Aim for the ships! Destroy the ships!
Suddenly, wonk, wonk, wonk. A klaxon horn starts blaring. Lights start spinning. Lukanov looks over and sees the blast door sliding open. Beyond that is the tunnel leading into Silo 3. Lukanov grabs Wise.
They're opening the tunnel. We have to get into the silo before they do. We must reach that control room.
Alpha Squad on me. We're going into the silo. All other teams, zero those ships.
Wise and his group break position, fighting their way across the cavern to the tunnel, while in another area, everybody else tries to break through the things and get to those flying saucers. Here comes Gates, faceplate shattered, germ suit torn, face bleeding from shrapnel. He and the men with him look like Sergeant Fury and his howling commandos. Gates sees Little Bear emerge from the smoke and flames like a wraith, a giant bloody scythe in his hand, eyes glowing red. Little Bear lunges, swinging the scythe. Gates ducks it, kicks him in the chest, driving him back in. Whoosh. Gates nails him with a blast of flame.
Little Bear collapses to the floor, engulfed in fire. But as Gate watches in horror, Little Bear rises to his feet before him, his body on fire, but not his head. Little Bear's mouth stretches unnaturally long, lets out an ear-splitting howl, a signal to the others. And suddenly, spider legs erupt from Little Bear's neck. Eye stalks erupt from the top of his head. It's the classic Carpenter-Boughton spider head. The legs flail, get a firm grip on Little Bear's shoulders, and the spider head detaches, rips free, heaving itself from the body. Gates hits the trigger to flame it, but the flamethrower sputters, running out of fuel. The Little Bear spider head jumps clear of the burning body, hits the floor, and scuttles away. Gates looks around, eyes wide with shock, and sees dozens of other spider heads doing the same, detaching from the bodies, leaping off, running away. And in the best trailer money shot of the movie, the one that'll get millions of people to tune in, dozens of screaming spider heads come stampeding by camera, running towards the flying saucers led by Little Bear Spiderhead. Soldiers come running in pursuit, blasting flamethrowers. Gates scoops up the fallen soldier's M16, opens fire on the run. In silo number 3, Wise, Lukanov, and a band of soldiers enter the missile silo, fighting their way in. The claxons are blaring. They look up. 100 feet above their heads, the huge silo doors are parting, daylight streaming through. Frantic, Lukanov looks up and spots their objective.
There, the control room.
It's 50 feet above, halfway up a silo wall, big observation windows looking out into the silo itself. Long, winding metal stairs lead up. They make for the stairs, fighting all the way. In the staging area, the screaming spider heads come swarming to the flying saucers. The tops swing up, hatches. The spider heads clamber into the cockpits, one head per saucer, each creature a perfect fit. The hatches hiss shut. A hum builds. Colored lights begin pulsing the circular motion around the room. And they start taking off, rising into the air, bobbing and veering and to get to the tunnel. Gates and the soldiers blast away with whatever they've got, like men shooting skeet. Several of the saucers get ripped asunder, detonations booming into the cavern, shrapnel ripping into the walls. In Silo 3, the silo doors have slid almost completely open. Tilt down to Wise's group, clambering up the steel stairs towards the control room, Lukanov at the lead. They are down to a few men, a horrific swarm of snarling people things at their heels, the soldiers firing point blank and screaming as they're ripped apart or tossed over the railing to their deaths.
We got to get these doors closed and blow the room.
Suddenly, the soldiers behind him go down and Wise gets grabbed. Lukanov turns back, Wise screaming as crab claws rip through his suit and impale him. With his dying breath, he thrusts a C4 satchel charge up at Lukanov.
Satchel charge, go!
Lukanov grabs it, turns, runs up the steps on his own. The thing's momentarily logjammed on the stairs. Exterior, town perimeter, mobile labs, morning. Handheld camera, frantic motion, thunderous noise. The 16 surviving townspeople are being herded into Blackhawks. Blackburn's on the run, escorting Bob, Samantha, and their nephew Michael towards the chopper. Soldiers and medical personnel are everywhere, scrambling, yelling, grabbing gear.
Leave it all. Personnel only, get on board.
She shoves the family onto the chopper. Rix points to the pilot, twirling his arm in a big rotating motion. The Blackhawk lifts off in a storm of dust. At the open doors are Bob, Samantha, and Michael. The little boy raises his hand to Blackburn in goodbye. For a moment, there's eye contact with the family. Then they're gone as the chopper takes off. A half dozen other Blackhawks take to the air, roaring off. Dozens of soldiers and personnel are left watching the helicopters go. Interior silo tunnel, morning. 24 little flying saucers come sailing down the tunnel, chased by soldiers, emerging into silo number 3. The flying saucers gather here, hovering, hum building, and they start to rise up towards the open silo doors. Gates, Cruz, and the soldiers blast their way out of the tunnel past some people things, hot on the saucer's trail. They open fire, shooting straight up, M16s, RPGs, grenade launchers, even pistols, blasting several saucers out of the air. Control room. Lukanov bursts in, panting for breath, slams the door, and locks it in the faces of the horde of people things. He turns and stops short
Sara-Thing is at the control console. She whips her head around, hissing, eyes insane, and comes striding towards him, hands reaching out, fingers distending into barbs to impale him. But Lukanov raises the taser he's had hidden behind his back and fires. The tiny darts hit her in the face. Electricity blasts along the wires and into her head. She jerks back, falls flat to the floor, seizing wildly. Lukanov drops the taser, steps over her as she jerks and writhes, starts flicking rows of toggle switches marked silo doors. In the silo, the flying saucers keep rising, gaining speed. The men below, the daylight growing narrower at the moment. The saucers go faster and faster, trying to beat it. Lukanov watches from the observation room as the flying saucers whiz past him and go straight up, and whoop. The silo doors close. Daylight disappears. The lead flying saucer slams into them, exploding, raining fire and debris. The others are veering to get out of his way, banging into one another, smashing into the walls of the silo. Now below, Gates and the soldiers run like hell to the back of the tunnel, where the ships explode, or where the ships come tumbling back down, knocking gantry arms loose as they explode. Everything crashing down to the silo floor, catwalks and cranes falling in an awesome shattered heap. Exterior town perimeter, mobile labs morning. A C-130J Hercules military transport plane rolls to an awesome stop. Its 4 Allison engines, 591 horsepower each, baby, roaring at full throttle like thunder. The huge rear ramp door under the tail is already down. The dozens of remaining soldiers and medical teams scrambling up before the planes even stop. Angled to Blackburn and Rick's, she's gazing off at the town, silent, eerie, deserted. It's a ghost town now.
How much time do we need to get outside the blast radius?
14 minutes. That's our minimum window. Nuke detonates in 17 minutes.
We wait.
That's only a 3-minute margin for...
We wait.
In the control room, Lukanov glances down at the wreckage of the silo below. People things are pounding on the door. The metal door frame is bending, weakening, and giving way. Calm, Lukanov breaks the seal on his germ suit with a quiet hiss, pulls off his helmet, and pulls something from an inside pocket. It's the photo of Misha, his grandson. He places it on the control console, pulls up a rolling chair, and sits with a contented sigh. He glances at the photo and waits. Womp, womp, womp. Door wrenching loose, things howling outside. The door smashes open, thudding to the floor. A solid mass of screaming people things swarm in to descend upon him. Lukanov leans back in his chair, smiles, and pulls the cord on a satchel charge. There's a tiny pause, a beep, and the control bunker explodes massively outwards, gone in a stunning concussion of heat and shrapnel. As fire and debris rain down, we tilt down to the floor of the silo. Strewn with burning wreckage, crashed spaceships, twisted metal. Suddenly, the wreckage shifts. There's something moving underneath it. It's one tiny flying saucer, damaged but still functioning. It pulls itself free, backing out from under the debris, wobbling at first and then steadying. The spotlight shines out of it, scanning the burning silo, and then it finds its way out, the vent tunnel from which Gates and Little Bear first entered. Interior underground missile base tunnels morning. Gates, Cruz, and a handful of surviving men run out for their lives. People things on their heels, a vertical shaft ahead. Gates sees men clambering up, getting the hell out. Still on the run, Gates scoops up a fallen soldier's flamethrower, spins, letting the swarm of things have it. Whoosh. And then, of course, the flamethrower runs out, sparkling.
When do your chargers blow?
Start counting on your fingers.
Gates sees the HIT charge ticking in the tunnel wall, pauses to see the countdown. His eyes widen. Cruz wasn't kidding. The red numbers are hitting. 10, 9, 8.
Oh, crap.
Come on, come on.
They get to the shaft, race from view up a ladder. As people things come swarming, we pan to the nearest HIT charge on the tunnel wall. 4, 3, 2. A tiny beep, and... Wise wasn't kidding either. Thermobaric explosives do set the air on fire. Stunning detonations and raging walls of fire hurtle down tunnels in every direction, cooking everything and anything, consuming, shrieking, fleeing things in a swirling inferno. Exterior town perimeter, Hercules morning. Blackburn and Rix watch stunned as half the town blows up before them, while simultaneously out of the surrounding desert, giant fireballs burst out of the ground, blasting through numerous missile silo doors. Rix grabs her elbow, pulls her towards the plane, but...
Look.
Coming from the smoke and flames, less than a dozen men. Gates, Cruz, and the rest of them of the staggering wounded. Soldiers stampede down the ramp, running out to help them. Gates comes up, face dark with soot and bleeding. His gaze meets Blackburn's desperate, questioning look, and he just shakes his head, telling her that Lukanov and the rest are gone. It's a desperate race to leave, running up the ramp, Healthy helping the injured, the Hercules engines throttling with an awesome roar, planes starting to roll, and all sound starts to fade away. No engines, no shouting orders, just music. Gaines Adagio by Chichurian, the tune that Lukanov hummed for Blackburn. And then an aerial shot, still no sound. The town lies in smoking ruin in the distance. The Hercules rises majestically into shot, coming towards us. Ziggy Canyon, morning, early morning light. Dust and smoke rises from what's left of the cliff dwelling. And something else too. A single flying saucer shoots out of the mouth of the cave into the desert sky. Interior exterior B-1 bomber. The bomber soars high above the barren desert. No sound here either. No cockpit chatter, no engines, no mechanical sounds as the bomb bay opens to reveal the nuclear bomb in its cradle. The bomb shackles open and the bomb falls away. We're flying low and fast, gaining speed. The tiny flying saucer moves into frame, chromed surface reflecting the canyon walls, whizzing at ridiculous speed. We follow the nuclear bomb through wispy clouds, the desert growing closer and closer until we start to make out the town of Christmas far below. Exterior Hercules. They're miles and miles away by now. Blackburn sitting exhausted at the rear-facing seat, strapped in, gazing out the window back towards the town. Still, no sound, just music lofting us onwards. Then she sees it. A shiny silver object, barely a pinpoint of light, bright like a morning star, streaking across the desert way back near Christmas, but moving away from it faster than anything man-made could move. Then it's gone, fading and vanishing like a mirage, winking out of existence, leaving her unsure if she really even saw it. In slow motion now, she looks forward, sees Rix with his hands cupped to his men shouting instructions, which, of course, she can't hear because there's only Gaines Adagio, and she realizes people around her are tucking into safety positions, covering their eyes, covering their mouths, and Blackburn does the same, ducking down just as the nuke detonates. At 1,000 feet and the world turns white. A nuclear fireball appears in the sky like a second sun, casting the entire town in stark silhouette. And the town is gone in a millisecond. As the glare subsides just enough to see, we witness a massive shockwave expanding across the desert in slow motion, the most stunning sight imaginable, hammering the desert sand to glass with the heat and force of an expanding sun. And we end on an amazing shot of the mushroom cloud billowing into the sky like a fiery specter of the apocalypse as the Hercules rides out on the shockwave and thunders past us. Dissolve 2, interior, hearing room, weeks later. Music continues, but now normal sound returns. Blackburn sits at a table in a dimly lit room with a microphone in front of her, facing a committee of government officials.
To date, no trace of the organism or the unidentified object seen leaving the quarantine zone has been found. It's possible that we succeeded, that the organism was completely destroyed in the blast, but I believe it would be a mistake to assume we are safe.
Exterior New York City day. The gleaming Manhattan skyline, the Empire State Building, Times Square, taxicabs, street vendors, 8 million people crammed into 320 square miles, 250,000 people per.
If it is out there, then we will know very soon. Dr. Lukanov said that if it's released into the general population, it would infect every man, woman, and child on the planet in a little over 3 years.
Through a series of long lens shots, we move in on one of the insanely crowded streets choked with pedestrians. Seething masses of humanity flow before our eyes. Closer and closer we come until our senses are filled with people and motion. But
there's one man just standing there, his back to us, motionless as a rock in the middle of a river.
27,000 hours and counting.
The man turns and we see his face. It's Little Bear. He starts to walk, disappearing into the flow of humanity. Gone. Fade out. End of Act 8. The end. And that is the I say to say spectacular? Yeah, sequel miniseries to The Thing. Thank you so much for watching. This was a really fun one to do. And we'll see you next time.